minutes of the show, to be honest.
Sweet. All right.
I'll send you a video that I want us to replicate, not content-wise, but the idea, and do it our way. Would be a Joel Klatt video.
Starts with a W. You know, because we win. Woodward Sports, Detroit's winning sports network.
All right, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Morning Woodward Show here on the Woodward Sports Network live. WoodwardSports.com. My goodness, it feels great to be back after, semi-experiencing death yesterday. You know, what are you going to do? Gabby, Jeff, missed you guys a ton. Look, let's just get the shenanigans out of the way.
Okay.
Before we get into what the show's going to be, what we're going to talk about for the next 2 hours, tomorrow being the biggest deal of the offseason for really a lot of teams. We got a draft party tomorrow. And I don't know about you guys, but I really wouldn't want to be the guy that showed up, or gal, an hour early to get in. And then you realize I didn't buy my ticket yet. And now I'm standing in line, hoping there's an availability. Mm-hmm. So guys, do me a favor. Gabby will put the link in the chat.
It's coming.
If you haven't already and you'd like to attend, you'd like to attend or plan on attending our draft party tomorrow, 7:30 at 5th Ave. Doors open at 5. Do me a favor. Buy your ticket now. Don't assume there are going to be tickets available by the time you walk in.
True.
Very risky business. And you don't want to miss Jeff, Neal, and the whole team's reaction to the Lions taking a kicker at 6, okay? Anyways. Just wanted to get that out of the way to start the show. It's going to be a good show. It's going to be a fun show. We'll start at 8:15. The Eagles are reportedly interested in moving up to 6 for Jalen Carter. Would you do it if you're the Lions? Is it worth it? 8:30, I have a very legitimate question, and I hope everybody can answer it. And the question is, why are we all so dumb? Context on that, we'll get to in about a half hour.
Great.
But why are we all so dumb? JB, I missed the scenario yesterday, so I want to get to that with you at 8:45. 9 o'clock and 9:15, Jeff and I will give our top 10 NFL draft prospects, our big board. And this is not, I would say, just for the Detroit Lions. This is just in general. We'll give a big board tomorrow, along with our full first-round NFL draft that Jeff and I will do together, live on the show with all of you, of course. And at 9:30, we'll go around the NFL, latest rumors, latest draft trades, etc., etc. But let's start the show with... This time last year, we had the unfortunate experience of, Jeff, you remember this very well, Malik Willis had 2. And if it wasn't Malik Willis, it was Kyle Hamilton. And boy, the stress kept building up. And then came the Thursday night, which for us will be tomorrow, but this time last year, where Aiden Hutchinson was supposed to go number 1 overall. But of course, Jacksonville did us the biggest favor, took Trayvon Walker, and it changed everything. And you saw the electricity at Brass Rail last year when we had our draft party. Everybody was freaking the fuck out, including me, including you, everybody. The draft is everything for NFL teams. You can have a draft like the Lions have had over the last few years. You can have drafts like Seattle has had, the Chargers, the Bengals in the past few years, the Chiefs. You can really, really improve your team by making 3 or 4 good decisions. Not even great, just good decisions. That's what makes the NFL draft so excited. I wanted to talk about our favorite draft memories to start the show, really, and I wanted to use last year as a perfect example. Your reaction and your thoughts when, 1, they were able to get Hutch, and 2, what was your mindset when they were trading up? And who'd you think it was before they made the pick?
Oh, gosh. Well, that's why I love the draft. And that goes for all sports because it plays with your emotions and knows exactly how to do so. I mean, even the NBA as well. It's the same feeling I have for every draft. It's the anxiety, the anticipation, and then you finally watch the draft, and it never goes usually as according to plan. Like last year, we thought Aiden would be number 1. Kayvon Thibodeau was pretty much mutually agreed upon that if he was there, we're taking him at 2. And then Aiden Hutchinson falls to 2, and everything changes. So that's why I love the NFL draft specifically. Last year, when Aiden fell, I think we already knew what time it was. Everybody in Brass Rail knew what time it was. Everyone at Woodward Sports knew what time it was. We knew the pick. Now, when they traded up in the first round, that's where it got interesting because you heard your Malik Willis chants. I also heard some Kyle Hamilton chants. Now, personally, what I thought they were going to do, I didn't think they were going to get Jameson Williams, so I'm not going to play, the genius in the room. I didn't think that. But what I did think, I thought they were getting Kyle Hamilton. I'm not lying to you because he went 14 anyway, and this is before Kirby Joseph. So I knew they were going to draft a safety. But when they took Jameson Williams, my goodness, I was very happy. I mean, for the quality and value of the player, on top of that too, when you look back on it, to walk away from that first round and to say the Lions got the best defensive player and the best offensive player.
Arguably, yep.
Yeah, at least in my opinion, and widely regarded, it's arguable. But for the most part, like that's the biggest thing to take away from last year, and I'm glad they didn't take Kyle Hamilton. I'm very glad. I'm glad it was Jameson Williams.
What's funny is we're hearing all these rumors from Brad Holmes. Oh, well, him publicly commenting, last week, Gabby, talking about he likes a certain player, Jalen Carter, and that nobody really looks back at Todd Gurley and says, oh, they reached there, or that was the wrong pick, paraphrasing here. But Brad Holmes doesn't do this. And to your point, you thought they were going to go up and get Kyle Hamilton, no?
Yeah, or Jordan. I guess Jordan Davis,
What
too.
did Brad Holmes do? Went up and traded for a wide receiver. What are the 4 most important positions in football? Name them.
Oh, the 4 most important would be quarterback. You can go either edge rusher, maybe offensive tackle, and then you get down to
no order. I don't care about.
Then you
the
get to
order.
wide receiver. I mean, shortly after that. So
he went edge, and then he went wide receiver.
There you go.
Where in that top 4 is there safety/running back? Is it there?
No, that's about
and you
6,
gotta go,
7.
And you got to go further down that list. And
Absolutely.
the point of all that is, in about 8 minutes, 6, 7, 8 minutes, we're going to talk about the Eagles potentially wanting to trade up. Could it be for Beydoun? Could it be for Jalen Carter? The report says Jalen Carter. Will Beydoun even be available? Look, I think there are a lot of scouts and a lot of teams right now, and this isn't just my opinion, this is a lot of reporting that really, really love Bijan Robinson. How nervous would you be if you want him, but you have to wait 9, 10, 11 picks to take a shot on him? Watch out. Who knows? Who knows? But this time of year is always the best. Nobody ever really knows. And that kind of alludes also to what we're going to talk about at 8:30, is that you have all these surefire picks. They're all top 10. They're on your top 10 big board. Well, you know what? I promise you this. If you were to do last year's draft all over again, Tariq Woolen's probably a top 12 pick in the NFL draft? I would say Kirby Joseph goes in the end of the first round.
Oh, yeah. Definitely.
Just to name a few players, Kenneth Walker, probably higher, definitely not a third-round pick. Or wait, no, was Kenneth
he was a second-round pick.
Yeah, he was a second-round pick, late, middle, late.
Regardless,
I
he should have been a late first-round pick.
Well, the point is, Cole Strange goes in the first round, right?
And that was strange, yes.
So look, funny, no pun intended, I guess. I don't know, but we talk so much about the draft being where you can completely change your franchise. That's really a good thing. And it's also a really bad thing. And we've seen it with this team before. Whether it was the Jeff Okudah draft, whether it was setting them back that year with the Aaron Donald, missing on him for Eric Ebron. It is make or break every year. It's do or die. You can have a draft last year like the Seattle Seahawks, or you can draft like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Or you can draft notoriously how the Bears have over the last few years. Your pick. That's what tomorrow's about. A lot of pressure. A lot of people that will say, I don't want this player. That's fair. No problem. But at the end of the day, who's got a top 7 GM working in their front office?
The Lions do. And you know what I love about this time, too? There's so much false narratives or fake news that comes out during this time as well. Like, did you see the Will Levis stuff?
I didn't know.
The odds. So this was yesterday. Early in the day, Will Levis was plus 4,000 to go number one overall.
Oh, is this the Reddit thread where somebody anonymously posted that Levis was told
he was plus 4,000, and within a couple hours, he was plus 400 now to go number one overall.
Yeah, but that's Reddit. I mean, they did that with GameStop.
Not saying I trust Reddit, but the point I'm making is, like, you really don't know. Like, if tomorrow we're at the draft and Will Levis goes number one overall, I'm not going to sit. Listen, as much as I'll disagree with it, I'm not going to be shocked. Like this happens every year for the draft. You wait months prior up until the draft. All these rumors come out. You think you have it figured out, and then you get slapped in the face with reality. And guys like Peter Schrager on TV think he has it figured out as well because of who he talks to. In reality, most of the people he's probably talking to is just feeding him BS to go tell television. So, like, you really don't know, and that's why I love this time of year. It's awesome. Can't wait till tomorrow. That's why you got to be down. That's why you got to be down there in person to see it.
I want to know who each of your picks are for the best reactions from WSN. Like, which staff member you think will have like the best reactions?
Depends on the pick. Mm-hmm. So if it's a pick that shocks everybody, I just want to see Ryan, Ermanni, or Maz, especially if it's a quarterback.
Definitely.
Because, excuse my language, Gabby, but they will probably jerk off live on air if they get the quarterback they want.
Hey, yo!
I don't want you to have to see that. I don't want all of you to have to see that. That's probably what's going to happen.
I don't think YouTube wants us sharing that.
I don't think they want it. They want to either, but it might happen. It probably will happen. And then if the Lions take a Bijan Robinson, a Jalen Carter, I'd love to see Easy's reaction, Jeff's, Neil Rule. So
I can't wait. I'll probably, if Jalen Carter does not go 5 and the Lions take him 6, I don't know what I'm going to do. That's why you got to be there as well, because I might run down the street naked. I might, depending on how much alcohol I intake. But Jalen Carter at 6, I would go nuts. That's probably my best case scenario. I mean, Will Anderson, but I don't think he's falling to 6. So
yeah, I saw the Detroit Lions podcast guys, and they do great work. I love Risden and the team over there, but they had Will Anderson falling to 6 in their mock yesterday, and I was just thinking to myself, like, okay, if I play that game and that does happen, I think everybody would be happy for the most part. I'm sure there'll be 5, 10, 15, 20 maybe percent of the fan base that says, no, I don't like him. Tyree Wilson's better. Van Ness, I don't know, whatever. But the point is, like, even if I wanted to play that game, how do I convince myself, Jeff, looking at the board, saying Arizona, even if they trade, they're going to pass, and Seattle's going to pass? For a guy with over 35 sacks in 3 years at the collegiate level, and he's gotten better every single year. He's a professional. I
feel like Seattle's like a safety net for him.
Yeah, like even if it all went your way, Detroit, Seattle's going to pass on him? For who?
Way. Yeah, no way.
Anthony Richardson or Jalen Carter? I mean, don't get me wrong. If that happens, nobody will be happier than me. Be my guest. Make all the picks you guys want. Just 6?
It's unreal.
That's like convincing me that Aiden Hutchinson last year would have fallen to 7 had the Lions passed on. Really? No.
He would have been a giant if we would have passed on him as well. So
Adam, can Holmes and the Lions miss on this draft and still live up to the hype? Yeah. They're a good enough team right now with the roster they have to go out and win the North and host a playoff game.
And
no excuses.
And what does miss in this draft mean?
Miss meaning you draft. Playoffs. Well, for example, right now Jameson Williams has essentially missed the first 23 games of his NFL career.
Right.
Due to injury, which you knew about, pre-existing injury, and now a 6-game suspension. Not ideal. He could still come out, ball, everything will be okay for the most part, but you've missed about a quarter of his 4-year contract. So more than just
if Brad splits this year's first round, let's say you get one. No,
let's just say he misses on both. Let's just say he misses on both. Like, we also need to take into account Brad Holmes has a high hit rate right now. It is only sustained by 3, 4, 5, 6 teams in the NFL over the last 20 years who have been able to show that type of track record. Brad Holmes has done it for 2 years. Hopefully he continues. But if he does miss, not the end of the world. Whether it's on pick 6 or 18, because you just got to figure it out. And you know what? I'm not going to sit here and say, unless they draft a player I don't like, I'm not going to sit here and say that won't work or I don't see that working. They got room. They're good enough to win the division. It's why they're the favorite right now. Aaron Rodgers was just traded yesterday.
Yep.
There's no excuse. I don't care if you land a first-round pick and he misses the whole year because of injury, suspension. He has to go to Hawaii for a mental retreat. I don't care.
Or if they select a quarterback and he sits. Like, I don't think that
You're
should
good
change.
enough to win the division this year. And you know what? If you miss on your first-round picks and you don't win the division, I think a lot of people are going to ask a lot of questions. And I think rightfully so. So we'll take a break. When we get back, the Eagles are reportedly interested in trading up for the number 6 overall pick. Is it worth it for Detroit? Would you take it under the package terms that include the 10th and 30th pick in this year's NFL draft? We'll get to that. We'll get to that next. But before we do, I got to tell you about my good friends over at Cousins Maine Lobster. Scan the QR code that you see on your screen or go to cousinsmainelobster.com. and find out where their locations are. Treat yourself to an excellent lunch. You'll thank me later. Lobster tacos, clam chowder soup as always. We'll see you guys right after the break.
Big Boy Strawberry Fest has officially arrived, and we're here to show you the very best flavors of the season. Satisfy your sweet tooth with our deep-fried vanilla Oreos, strawberry hot fudge cake, and a slice of our classic strawberry pie. But that's not all. Cool off on a refreshing summer splash salad, or savor the flavors of our chicken Caesar wrap and strawberry bacon chicken wrap. And for breakfast lovers, don't miss out on our strawberry hotcakes or our mouth-watering red velvet waffle. Strawberry Fest is something for everyone. Celebrate the sweet season with us at Big Boy.
We don't like to brag that we are the toughest sports network in Detroit, but we do have a guy named Darren McCarty on our side.
Lemieux and McCarty, who've had a good knockdown drag up. There they go, right on the whistle. They were talking to one another.
Woodward Sports.
Welcome back to the Morning Woodward Show. We're happy to have you here. If you're watching on woodwardsports.com, please be sure to check out our articles, our shop. Lots of great content as we roll into tomorrow. And as always, we're hoping to see you at 5th Ave for the draft party. Doors will be opening at 5. The upstairs where we're at will open at 6. And the show will start at 7:30.
All right, I love it. I can't wait. We're all excited. Jeff, the Eagles are reportedly interested in trading up for the number 6 overall pick. I'll start with you. They offer 10, 30, and let's say a future 3 or 4, whatever it is. You take the trade, regardless of who's available outside of Will Anderson. I'll give you that. That way you can make the decision a little easier. But I don't care if Stroud, Carter, I don't care who's available. Okay? Your standard board. Jeff, you taking that trade?
Yeah. I think I'm.
You have to, don't you?
Yeah, you have to. Even for me, who is I'm super high on Jalen Carter. I'd love him at 6. And it's tough to pass on him, but if you trade back to 10, only 4 spots, I know you lose a little bit of the control of the board.
But it's only 3 picks.
But it's only,
and you know for a fact.
Yes.
Okay, let me not say that. I'd be
you get
lying,
30, which 30 is like those guys who just fall to late in the first round.
But can we agree 7, 8, and 9? Are we confident in saying one of the corners likely available?
Oh, yes.
One of them, the top 2, meaning Gonzalez and Witherspoon, at least.
You'll be able to grab one of those corners. Maybe you get Canty at 18 and 30.
Because who knows? I think the Raiders are the wild card here. I like to think Atlanta does go at the defensive line position, and I also like to think that Chicago gets an offensive lineman, likely Paris Johnson or Peter Skoronski.
And Atlanta could say, screw you all, and go Bijan Robinson. So who knows?
And they could. But, I mean, they got Tyler Algier.
Makes no sense, but I've seen that reported. But, yes, I think I'd do it. For 10, future assets, I mean, yes.
And you don't have to be...
you get 30 as well.
You can move back from 18 to 20, 22, trade completely out of the first round at 30, get picks for next year. I would argue it's very difficult to get a future 1 for pick 30. You'd probably be able to get a future at pick 18. But the draft is going to be unpredictable. I'm open to the deal. I think it's a very, very, very good deal for the Lions. I don't mind trading back 4 spots. The only way I say no if I'm in the front office is if the Lions have their guy and they know he'll be available at 6, but they aren't sure if he'll be there at 10. Yeah. It's the only way I say no. It's the only way I say no. I don't care how much you give me. I want my guy. I want my guy. You couldn't have given me 3 first-round picks to move back 3, 4 spots last year in the NFL draft because Aiden Hutchinson was the guy, the right fit. I don't care what you offered me. It didn't make any sense. Even if you offered me 3 future firsts and the number 6 overall pick last year, I'm probably saying no. Because then who am I ending up with? Evan Neal? Drake London? Who am I walking away with? So, Unless their guy is available, I think you do that trade.
I love this comment. Roger, WoodwardSports.com says you could get Cansey, Gibbs, and a cornerback. Great
Cansey,
trade.
Gibbs. Who's Gibbs? Gibbs, the
Jameer.
running back?
Yeah, he said at 30.
At 18?
At 30.
Who
He's
at
saying
18
if you
then?
get a corner, Cansey,
Oh.
and Gibbs at 30.
Yeah,
if that trade goes
I'm
through.
open to it. Again, that's 3 first-round picks, though. And if I'm going to spend first-round pick money, I mean, I really think Hendon Hooker at 30, if he's going to be available.
Could be a good
I
one,
think
too.
that's
You get the
something you
fifth-year
consider
option.
just because of the fifth-year option, right?
Yeah.
You have to value pick 30. Or you find a team that wants to trade into the first round to get a quarterback, and you try to secure a future one. That would make sense to me. I don't see them selecting at 30, and Brad Holmes kind of gave you that message last year. Hey, I'm picking at 2 and 32. I'm not fucking waiting till 32 to take a player. There's only like 8, 9, 10, 8, 9, 10, 11 guys really on our board that we love and would love to have within the top 15. I'll move up. Let me call Minnesota. I'd rather get my guy than sit there at 30 and walk away with who? I don't know who's going to be available. And every year, of course, you can go do a redraft and find guys in the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th round that should have been first-round picks based on how good they were year one. Sure, fine.
Brad's got a couple of those.
But the point is, if I'm going to move back, it's got to be for a very good haul. And it means that I'm not in love with anybody at 6. If the team, meaning the Lions, are in love with somebody at 6, not much you can offer me to move away from it.
Yeah, and if Brad Holmes has a group of players with a similar grade, it makes sense. Because if you're going to drop down 4 picks, you go from 6 to 10, and you have players like Gonzalez, Witherspoon, these guys kind of in the same category, then I don't have an issue with it. But if there's a drop off, if Jalen Carter's there and they have Jalen Carter significantly higher than any other player, as much as it's intriguing to trade back, to me, at least with the Lions right now, they're in win now mode. I would rather just take the best possible player. But if Brad has a couple players in a similar grade, then yeah, trade back. Go back 4 spots, get the player you wanted anyway, and then you get in more picks as well. It makes the most sense.
I still think pick 30 is very valuable. If you ask the Eagles if they could redraft the Jalen Hurts draft all over again, you bet your ass they would have gave up a second or a future. They would have given up anything to draft him at the end of the first instead of in the 2nd round early because of that 5th-year option and how valuable that is. And I'm sure there are going to be teams this year that are thinking about a quarterback, depending on how the board shapes up, where you could possibly trade out of the 1st round because somebody wants that pick. And you can trade out for an early 2nd or maybe a future 1st to a contending team, likely, who knows. That's how it could work out.
Steve-O says, win now mode. It's easier said than done when you haven't won a playoff game in 31 years.
Win now mode. What does that mean? I don't get it. The Lions are in win now mode. They upgraded their secondary in the offseason. They signed David Montgomery.
Yeah,
they have 4 picks in the top 55. This is a team that, regardless of who they draft this year, should fucking win the division.
Yeah,
no excuses.
I was going to say,
I'm not sure.
The last 30 years has nothing to do with this season coming up. It's still win now mode. That doesn't even make sense. But
what's win now mode for you guys? What does that mean? What's
JB.
the pick? What's the pick that says win now mode, or we're a bunch of pussycats?
I mean, I don't really know because in Brad Holmes,
that's why I'm asking.
Answer this question: are the Lions not in win now mode?
That's what I was thinking as well.
What does that mean?
Aren't we in win now mode? That doesn't really make any sense.
I like to think so.
Yeah, that makes no
Will
sense.
Anderson equals win now. Well, buddy, he's probably not going to be available.
I don't know.
And if he is, great, take him. But you wouldn't trade back 4 spots, likely to get the same player you would take at 6? Depending on, again, what you believe, what you don't believe. The odds makers say it's a corner. So if it's a corner, you'll probably still get one of the 2 best ones coming out. Now, if you're not comfortable waiting till 10, be my guest, stay at 6, like I said. If you have your guy, don't move off of 6. I have no problem with it at all. No problem with it at all.
We already knew going into this draft that they were in win now mode.
That's what
It's
I'm
not gonna
saying.
make a
Yeah,
difference what the pick
There's
is.
nothing new here, right?
No.
The only move that wouldn't infer they're in win now mode, partly, would be drafting a quarterback. I
But
guess
even then, they're still the division favorite.
So I don't know.
And
Yeah,
they
that
still have
doesn't-
the 18th overall pick and 48 and 55.
Yeah, you still need guys that can. It's not even like Will Anderson's a win now move, but Christian Gonzalez is not.
You know what? You can throw this poll in the chat if you
all,
don't mind.
They're all moves. No,
and,
what?
And we can answer it later. I'll give it some time to just digest with everybody at home. But my question's going to be, if you had to, I'm not giving you any other choice, okay? If you had to live with one quarterback being taken, would you live with Will Levis, and I'm talking about pick 6 here, Will Levis, Anthony Richardson, CJ Stroud? Those are your options. I'm telling you, in a hypothetical world, the Lions take a quarterback at 6. You don't have a choice. It's going to happen. Which one do you live with? And we'll bring it up why that's important probably around 8:45, 9 o'clock, okay? So to continue the conversation, the Lions are in win now mode, guys. They are in win now mode. Are you really going to call it a loser mentality, trading back from 6 to 10 and acquiring an additional first-round pick? That doesn't really make sense to me, especially if you're not in love with the guy who's going to be available at 6. Now, if you think Christian Gonzalez, Devin Witherspoon, if that's your guy, take him. Jalen Carter, take him. I'm not going to sit here and judge you.
Especially if that's your guy. And
if that's your guy, you stay there. You don't trade back. You don't take the risk of him not being there. I'm okay with that. And then you can move up from 18 if you want to make another move. I don't care. But to suggest that moving back 3 spots, technically 4, excuse me, is somehow telling your fan base, hey, we're in a rebuild again. We're just going to trade back 4 picks. I find that ludicrous. It's a huge, huge generality here. Just going to lump in, it's a loser mentality to trade back. Really? I've seen the GM trade up. I've seen him nail picks. I've seen him miss on picks in the later rounds. No problem. I'm going to call the Lions losers because they trade back from 6 to 10. Will Anderson's on the board. I'm not trading the pick. That's my rule.
And at least for me personally, I know you'd probably disagree. If Jalen Carter's sitting there looking me at the face, I'm going to have to at least think about it.
Well, that's why you're going to get the picks you're getting.
And the reason why Philly they would want to trade up is for Jalen Carter.
Reportedly,
that's been reported. So clearly he'd have to be there for Philly to have interest. But, man, I'm thinking about it. Because, it's intriguing to stay there and just take Jalen Carter. But if Philly's offering to give up 10, 30, yeah. I mean, you got to at least think about that. And even me, I have to think about that. And I'm extremely high on Jalen Carter. So we'll see. If is there any GM you trust making that move right now, it's Brad. Especially draft time.
All right, let's take a break. When we get back, why are we so dumb? I alluded to this earlier. And I mean this. This is an honest question, okay? You guys can laugh. You can smile. I mean it. Why are we so dumb? We do this every year. Yet nobody takes a second to think back, revisit history, understand why things happen the way they do, why players get taken where they're taken, why certain players that become all-pro players fall into the middle of the first round, late first round. Some even end up being second, third-round picks. Why? Are we ever going to fucking learn? Would love to see that day. That's what this segment's about. So we'll get to that next. But before we do, Jeff, our good friends over at the Sports Marketing Agency.
The Sports Marketing Agency helps spread awareness about mental health and substance abuse. If you understand their podcast, this is the S word. It stands for the stigma about seeking help. If you or someone you know is struggling, head to thesportsma.com for more information.
Love Woodward Sports? Love wearing clothes? Then you should be wearing Woodward Sports clothes. Check out our full line of merch at woodwardsports.com. Just click on shop. We have all your favorite designs, like Dan Campbell kneecaps, Woodward golf, and of course, our own logoed out merchandise. Men, women, infants, kids all love Woodward Sports. Impress your friends. Impress your boss. Impress your dog. Buy Woodward Sports merch today.
Introducing the Planet Fitness Guide to getting that post-workout glow. Step 1. What's your why? More epic energy? Better sleep? Blow off steam? Step 2. Join Planet Fitness for just $10 a month and get moving in our clean and spacious clubs. Step 3. Bask in that post-workout glow. Join Planet Fitness today for just $10 a month.
Join today at any of the 50-plus Detroit area locations.
My name is Lee. I've lost 35 pounds on the Custom Health Center program. So the 3 biggest benefits that I've gotten from this program has been I'm not snoring anymore, I have a lot of energy, it's great, and oh, by the way, look at this. No, I'm just kidding. No, I'm just kidding.
Call us at 844-789-THIN or visit CustomHealthCenters.com for a free consultation and get started for as little as $5 a day.
We are the network for Detroit by Detroiters. Welcome to the Woodward Sports Network.
Let me tell you about our friends over at the Fulling Warehouse in Hamtramck, because it is the home of the original football bowling game. 2 to play for $12, the unlimited open play, or you can pay $120 for a lane reservation for up to 10 people. $2 Mr. Beer Machine, full bar. Check it all out, fullingwarehouse.com.
All right, we're back here on the Morning Woodward Show live, woodwardsports.com. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and of course, if you're missing the show live because, well, we got nothing better to do this morning, make sure on your way home from work or during your lunch break, you download the podcast, you leave a 5-star review, whether you listen on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever the hell you find your podcasts. I don't know these days. There's way too many apps. I can't keep up, so don't ask me, okay? Cool. Now that we have that taken care of, my question is, why are we all so dumb? And I know that comes off like pretty arrogant and pretty aggressive, but I mean that honestly.
I don't think it's the most arrogant or aggressive thing that you've said before.
Oh, I've said worse, but you know, I'm asking the question lightheartedly also, right? Like, this is it's meant to be fun, but also like, let's really reconsider how our brains work, guys. This is going to be like an educational lesson here, okay? I'm trying my best. If it doesn't work, fuck it. We're all going to stay dumb for the rest of our lives, okay? If I can't help, nobody's going to be able to help here, okay?
Help me! Help!
Let's go back and revisit the last, let's say, 8-9 drafts in the past, 8-9 years. You look at the top 10, who went, why they went. We'll go over the top picks. And the lesson I want us all to learn is, why are we so quick to say this guy is not worthy, quote, worthy of a top 10 pick? Why this guy, whether because of his size, arm length, speed, 40 time, a cone drill, some of his tape isn't all that great. Why are some of these guys graded as top 5, top 10 picks, and others are in the mid-first, late round, early second that end up being all pro that, of course, you would redraft later in the top 10? Why do we make this mistake every year? We stop ourselves from taking a player we really like because, consensus tells us we're not allowed to take him in the top 10. Yeah, tell that to fucking LA when they drafted Aaron Donald, and Detroit when they drafted Ebron. How'd that make you feel? Dumb, right? Yeah. So the other 12 teams that passed on Aaron Donald that year. Sometimes you have to really think and trust yourself to say, the tape checks out, intangibles check out, we really like this player, he's a good fit, I know he's projected in the middle of the first round and my fan base is going to freak out, but I'm going to take him here. So let's start in the 2012 draft. Andrew Luck went number 1, RG3 2, Trent Richardson 3, Matt Khalil offensive lineman 4, Justin Blackmon went 5th overall. Justin Blackmon, the prospect, intangible, he's got it all the measurables. He's tall, he's fast. Matt Khalil, big offensive lineman. Trent Richardson, can't miss. Russell Wilson went in the 3rd round. Kirk Cousins went in the 2nd round. Bobby Wagner, Stephon Gilmore were in that draft. Luke Kuechly went in 9, I believe, in that draft. And that draft wasn't the most stacked in terms of talent in the 1st round, and I'll give you way better examples moving forward, but that's just one example. You go to 2013, Eric Fisher, number 1 overall pick. Luke Jokel, number 2. Deion Jordan, 3. Lane Johnson, the only one that worked out of that top 5 significantly. And then Ezekiel Ansah at 5, who had a good run with Detroit, but it wasn't an all-pro career. It wasn't what you'd want from a top 5 pick. And, of course, DeAndre Hopkins went later on. Darius Slay, Zach Ertz, Travis Kelce, Keenan Allen, Tyrann Mathieu. Guys that don't check the boxes, they're not graded high. It's the same thing with college prospects. We do this all the time, from high school to college. A 2-star recruit, a 3-star recruit that end up being a way better talent and a way better pro than the 5-star guy coming out from their freshman year. We do this all the time, and we just don't want to learn from it at all. Jadeveon Clowney in 2014, Greg Robinson, Blake Bortles, Sammy Watkins, Khalil Mack, Jake Matthews in that order. All those teams passed on Aaron Donald, Mike Evans, Zach Martin, Dee Ford, Jimmy Ward, all first-round picks. Bradley Roby, first-round pick. Devontae Adams, second-round pick. All these teams passed on these players because they weren't top 10 prospects. Think about that. Go to 2015. Jameis Winston, Marcus Mariota, Dante Fowler, Amari Cooper, Brandon Sheriff. Congratulations. You guys passed on Eric Armstead, Marcus Peters, Zadarius Smith, Grady Jarrett. 2016. 2016 is the most recent anomaly, where I think the top 5 was just correct, even if some didn't work out, given how weak that total draft was. Jared Goff, Carson Wentz, Joey Bosa, Ezekiel Elliott, Jalen Ramsey. I think 4 of those guys are 4 of the 5 best players that came out of that draft. You can go do the research. I already did it. There's nobody else really in that draft board that was, wow, I have to have these guys. So 16 is the anomaly, or I should say the most recent anomaly that we have in our data point here. 2017, this is where it gets fun. Myles Garrett, number 1 overall. Mitchell Trubisky, number 2. Solomon Thomas, checks all the boxes. Number 3, just like Tyree Wilson. Leonard Fournette, number 4. Can't miss. LSU back. Similar to Beydoun, can't miss. Corey Davis, number 5. Corey Davis. He's not even a 2 in the NFL at this point. You passed on Patrick Mahomes, Deshaun Watson, Jonathan Allen, TJ Watt, Budda Baker, Dalvin Cook, Marcus Williams, Alvin Kamara, Cooper Kupp. Teams do this every year, and we refuse to acknowledge it because we don't want to freak out. We don't want to panic. We look at the big board, and we realize that out of the top 10 players available, maybe 2 or 3 are actually going to hit, and the rest of the guys are in the 30, 40, 50, 60 range that nobody just wants to acknowledge because they didn't grade high enough. 2018, Baker Mayfield went 1, Saquon 2, Sam Darnold 3, Denzel Ward 4, Bradley Chubb 5. Some really good players there, of course, but you passed on in the first round alone Minkah Fitzpatrick, Derwin James, Jareer Alexander, Lamar Jackson. You could have got Shaq Leonard, Jesse Bates, Fred Warner, all pro level players. They didn't grade out. They didn't grade out, guys. Sorry, we can't take these guys at 10, 9, 8, 7, or 6. We'll take them at 14, 15, 16, 17 because that's where they grade. I'm more comfortable taking these guys. Good job. Good job. Way to go, New York. Way to go, Carolina. Way to go, guys. Great draft. Kyler Murray, Nick Bosa in 2019. Quinnen Williams, a really good top 3. Then Keelan Farrell, Devin White, Daniel Jones. Those are the top 6. You think in place of Daniel Jones, Keelan Farrell, they wouldn't have preferred Rashawn Gary, Dexter Lawrence. All first-round picks, by the way. Darnell Savage, Jeffrey Simmons, interior defensive tackle. How about in the second round, Deebo Samuel, A.J. Brown? You think they wouldn't have preferred those guys? We're so scared to do this. And my last example is going to be the Jeff Okudah draft. Burrow, Chase Young, Jeff Okudah, Andrew Thomas, Tua Tagovailoa. A good top 5 outside of really Jeff Okudah. 2 of the injury problems suck. But in 2020, in the first round, you could have gotten CeeDee Lamb, Justin Jefferson, because they didn't grade in the top 10. These are mid to early, late first-round picks. From like 15 to 23, 24. Tristan Wirfs, CeeDee Lamb, Justin Jefferson, Patrick Queen. First pick or second pick. No, first pick in the second round was T. Higgins. And then Jonathan Taylor. And Antoine Winfield Jr. Oh, and Jalen Hurts came in the second round of that draft. Oh, and Trayvon Diggs was pick 55, I believe. They don't measure out to be first-round picks. There you go. We do this every year. Every year. And nobody learns their lesson. Because Tyree Wilson is going to grade out as a top 5 pick. He's got all the boxes checked. Jalen Carter, all the intangibles. He's such a big guy who checks all the boxes. Yet there's going to be a player taken at 18, 20, 22 that prior to the draft you're not comfortable taking. That you're going to tell me, oh, he's not worthy of the 6th overall pick. It doesn't matter if you miss taking the guy that everybody agreed on or everybody shat on you for. If you miss, you miss. And if you hit, whether the fans love you or they hate you, you hit on the pick, and nobody cares. And you're smart. You're the smartest guy in the room. Excellent GM. That's 9 years. 9 years of first-round picks where we take all these guys in the top 10, and the guys that go from 11 to 22, 24 wind up being all-pro players that we weren't comfortable prior to the draft taking in the top 10. Justin Jefferson, no, you can't take him in the first round of the NFL draft. You can't do that. He had one good year with Joe Burrow. Jamar Chase was on the other part of the sideline. He's not a top 10 wide receiver. You can't take a wide receiver in the top 10 like that. You can't take an offensive lineman like Tristan Wirfs. CeeDee Lamb, not worthy. Patrick Queen, good linebacker. T. Higgins, not a wide receiver one on any team in the NFL. Most teams, I should say. So you guys tell me. We do this every year. You do this every year. And the teams that end up picking at 8, 9, and 10 typically walk away the happiest because all the pressure's on the first 6 guys. And all the first 6 picks are like, we can't miss. Let's take the guy that checks all the boxes on our board. Not the guy that we're in love with, but we're really skeptical about whether or not, 1, the fan base will even like this or understand it, or 2, how we're going to get blasted by Mel Kiper and Todd McShay and all these guys. You can't care. The Rams didn't care. And I can't believe the line. I don't even want to talk about that draft. These teams don't care. The teams that win don't care.
Yeah. And I feel like Brad's kind of, now you're realizing he's cut from that same cloth. Like last year when he drafted Aiden, he didn't really overthink it. That pick came in immediately. It was like, hey, Aiden's here. He's our highest graded player. We love him. Pick him. There wasn't much thought into it. And that's, yeah, you're not wrong. That's typically why even this year, like the Lions picking at 6, it might go to their advantage a little bit because there might be somebody like a Jalen Carter potentially who falls right into your lap without having to move up. So
yeah, or you're the dummy that took him because he's a top 10 prospect. And there's another defensive tackle that goes at 18, 20, 22, 24, and he becomes all-pro.
But the reason you don't take him is because he wasn't widely regarded as you shouldn't.
And we're dumb. That's my point. Is we're dumb, all of us.
And that happens every year.
That's my point.
Yeah, like
it happens every year.
It happens,
and every year I get told you can't take him this high, whether it's Kalijah Cansey, whether it's any player in the first round. I don't care if you don't grade them as a top 5, top 10 player. That's fine.
Right.
Go look at the recent NFL drafts. I gave you 8, 9 years of it. Outside of 2016, which was a shit draft overall. Every year, teams regret. Every year, we do a redraft. It's actually a recurring segment every year. We do a redraft. Why? Because teams get it wrong. Because you are forced. How do I pass on this guy? If Jalen Carter's there, how do I pass on him? I'm a GM. I'm sitting there at 5 or 6, 7. Jalen Carter's on the board. I'm going to get reamed if I take this guy and he doesn't work out. Or if I pass on him, I'm going to get reamed.
There you go.
And he goes and becomes an all-pro somewhere else. And you can't think like that, though. You have to trust your team.
Right.
You have to trust your scouts. And you say, hey, is what's on the tape, is what we've seen in interviews in person with him,
well, that's
adding up?
Yeah.
Is it adding up to what we like in a football player? And if it is, we're taking him. I don't care about the backlash. The Jaguars took Trayvon Walker. He fit their board. Aiden fell right to your laps last year. Thankfully. Love him. The exact Dan Campbell, Brad Holmes, even just a Lions player, blue collar, love it. Kirby Joseph in the 3rd round, phenomenal player. Do this every year.
And I think part of that, too, with the Trayvon Walker stuff, because when we did the pre-draft coverage, Trayvon Walker, to us at least, was always 3rd. I mean, we talked about Kayvon and Aiden specifically number 1, and then it was Kayvon, Trayvon Walker. But it really depends on how your team values draft picks. For example, the Jags with Trent Baalke, they always look at measurables. They look at physically. Like Trayvon Walker tested the best out of all the defensive ends last year. So I guess it depends what you're valuing. And for the Jags last year, it was clearly on potential. And that's why they took Trayvon Walker. Sometimes the Lions, for example, it's as easy as, are you the number 1 player on our board? Yep. And Aiden was.
Well, this is the problem.
It didn't have to do with his short arms or anything like that.
It's a lot of you in the chat, so I'll read as many of these comments as I can. Cansey will not get away with the stuff he did in college. Fine, cool. Cansey is nothing close to a top 10 talent. Yeah, I know. Good. You haven't been listening for 14 minutes. This wasn't a Kalijah Cansey rant. This is about, where's my list? This is about Tristan Wirfs, Justin Jefferson not being top 10 talents in their drafts. Think about that, you dumb fucks. Justin Jefferson, Tristan Wirfs weren't top 10 talents. Jeffrey Simmons wasn't a top 10 talent in his draft.
Yeah.
Derwin James, Jair Alexander, Lamar Jackson weren't top 10 talents in their draft. Fred Warner wasn't a top 10 talent in his draft. That's the point, guys. Do this every year. You fall in love with the Bradley Chubb, the Sam Darnolds. You fall in love with the Colin Farrells. You fall in love with Solomon Thomas, Corey Davis, top 5 picks. You fall in love with Dante Fowler, Brandon Sheriff. You fall in love with Blake Bortles, Greg Robinson, Sammy Watkins, Drake Matthews, top 5, top 6 picks. You fall in love with Deion Jordan. You fall in love with Matt Khalil, Justin Blackmon. And you pass up on players like Bobby Wagner, Zach Martin, Dee Ford, Zadarius Smith, Marcus Peters, Jared Alexander, Tristan Wirfs, Justin Jefferson, Jeffrey Simmons, Jesse Bates. Because they don't grade out to be top 10 picks. That's my point. So remember that for tomorrow. And if you learned anything, great. If you didn't, I can't help you. But think about that long and hard before you sit there and say, oh, this guy's not a top 10 talent. Absolutely not. Unacceptable. Not doing it. He can't be a top 10 talent. Tariq Woolen wasn't a top 10 talent. He wasn't even top 10 in his own fucking position. He was a 5th round pick.
Welcome to the NFL.
He would have been taken in the 1st round had all these teams known.
Most guys.
And that's my point.
Most
is
guys
when you put all your stock into what everybody thinks, what you think, do they test out? That's why there are some teams that just get it and some that don't. And the Lions, for the most part of my lifetime, have been one of the stupid teams in the NFL. The last 2 years under Brad Holmes, they've drafted very well, very encouraged, love to see it. They've been one of the smarter teams recently. So it doesn't shock me if Jalen Carter's on the board, Bijan Robinson's on the board, CJ Stroud's on the board at 6, and they pass him for somebody that nobody ever even considered would go at 6. It wouldn't. It wouldn't shock me with any of these teams, not just the Lions. And that's my point this morning. Don't fall in love with Todd McShay's top 10 big board. Or Mel Kiper. Or Easy's. Or Adams. Or Jeff's. Or this guy. Or that guy. Fuck the board. When you're an NFL team, what do our scouts think of this person? Where does he fall on our big board? Is he a good person? Is he going to fit our team? Did he check out in our tests? Did he check out on the interview? If he checks all the boxes, guys, why the fuck do I have to wait till 18 to take him? Why? Why? Patrick Mahomes, could he have been available at 12, at 13, 14, 15? Maybe. Maybe. Sean Payton talked about this. New Orleans wanted him, actually, at 13, I believe. And what happened? Kansas City traded up. You don't think New Orleans wouldn't have loved to trade a 2nd, a 3rd, and a 5th to move up one spot?
To get Patrick Mahomes. Yeah.
Why, if somebody checks all your boxes, do you not just go all in? And if you're wrong, you're wrong. It's okay. But I'd rather you go all in on the guy that you want rather than the guy that the public and the consensus top pick and this guy and that guy. It's a low hit rate, guys. Do the research.
I guess every team's different. Depends on what they look at in a player and what boxes that certain players have to check. It just depends.
All right.
And I'm curious, will players check Brad Holmes' box tomorrow for the draft?
That sounds very sexual, so I'm just going to let that go.
Okay.
Anyways. When we get back, JB has a fun scenario for us. I can't wait to hear it. I missed it yesterday.
You're going to love this.
I missed it yesterday.
And I have a little nugget for you next segment. I'm going to pitch something to you, a scenario that JB has. Because we talked about it yesterday, but I want your thoughts.
All right, I can't wait. I can't wait. But before we go, I got to tell you about my good friends over at Lady Jane's Haircuts for Men. Open 10 to 8, 7 days a week. Walk in anytime. For your chance to win not one, but 2 vehicles of your choice, courtesy of our good friends over at Les Stanford Buick GMC of Ferndale. That's right, 2 cars, one for you, one for your spouse, significant other, best friend, mistress. I don't care what you're doing in your life. Lady Jane's open 7 days a week. Walk in anytime. It's wicked awesome.
The sports marketing agency would not be who we are without great community partners like Higuera Health and Carol Zuniga.
It's an awesome opportunity to partner with your organization. Higuera Health is a comprehensive behavioral health organization. We serve children through older adults with mental health, substance use, and developmental disabilities across Western Wayne counties, and really excited to now be in downriver communities as well. Give us a call at 734-458-4601.
Get a shot up. This is for the win. All of Detroit's sports teams live on Woodward. All of Detroit's sports coverage lives on Woodward Sports. Driving the best in Detroit sports coverage.
Back to the Morning Woodward Show. If you're watching on woodwardsports.com, thanks so much for checking out this site. Be sure to click on that news tab and our shop tab as well. And if you're watching on YouTube, subscribe. If you're listening after the fact, wherever you listen to your podcast, I have no clue where Adam listens to his, be sure to download and leave a 5-star review, and we'll see you tomorrow at 5th Ave. I'm going to throw the link in the chat to get your tickets right now.
I listen to Joe Rogan and Patrick Bet-David. Those are my top 2 listens right now.
Joe Rogan?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm a Rogan and Patrick Bet-David guy. Those are my top 2 at the moment. Could change.
How about this poll, too? It's damn near 50-50.
For what?
Should the Lions trade back from 6? Yes and no. Take the best player available. It's 50-50 right now.
I don't really have an opinion on that.
It speaks to how diverse the fan base is right now with that idea. 50-50. I haven't seen that in a while. A poll split down the middle.
All right, well, look, it's been a fun show so far. I missed yesterday. So, JB, you said you had a scenario for Jeff and I. You guys covered it yesterday. I do want to hear it, though. What are we looking at here?
All right, so I gave this scenario out to Jeff and Flannel Sam yesterday. And, Gabby, I want to get your opinion on this as well, too. But the scenario is if Will Anderson, Jalen Carter, Bryce Young, C.J. Stroud, and Devon Witherspoon are all gone before the Lions pick. Could this happen? And also, where do you go with your pick at 6?
Okay, let's just repeat the players. Bryce Young, Will Anderson, Jalen Carter.
Yep.
C.J. Stroud.
C.J. Stroud.
And who's the 5th guy?
And Witherspoon.
No, I take Christian Gonzalez.
No question? Take him at 6.
If I can't trade back? Is that the question here?
No question, though. Just 6. Taking Gonzalez.
Because you're looking, it would be between just players available.
Yeah, because I'm not going to have a corner available that I'm going to like if I even do the Philly trade at 10, because I think he'll go. Especially in the scenario that Witherspoon goes that early.
So the players that would be available: Tyree Wilson, Christian Gonzalez.
Yeah, I'm not a Tyree Wilson guy, so I'm not.
So you're going to go with Christian Gonzalez. I actually made a case yesterday.
You still have Beydoun. You still have Anthony.
I made a case.
Beydoun?
I made a case for Beydoun yesterday. If those players are gone, and let me just, because again, I get running back top 10. It scares people away. I understand that, but Beydoun's going to go top 10 anyway.
That's great.
Regardless.
I'm trying to think of this football team. Emmanuel Mosley's on a 1-year deal. I just signed David Montgomery to a 3-year deal.
I'm not mad at Gonzalez.
Oh, I know.
Good pick. Yeah.
I'm just going to explain my thinking here. I have, who else? C.J. Gardner-Johnson on a 1-year deal.
Yep.
Christian Gonzalez is the longest corner projected in the first round right now.
Some have him number 1.
Some have him number 1. Look, taking a corner at 6, I know it's PTSD with the whole Jeff Okudah thing. I get it, Lions fans. I get it. But if he's the right player,
Lions fans,
are you mad? If it's Kalijah Kancey at 6, are you mad? If it's, let's say, Joey Porter at 6, are you mad? Tyree Wilson. Yeah, you're not mad if the player works. That's just the reality. Whether you like the initial pick or not. Based on what you're telling me, I keep saying Devon. It's Devin, isn't it? It's Devin Witherspoon. Anyways, Devin Witherspoon taken in the top 5. I lose no Carter, no Anderson, so 3 defensive players gone. I consider the corner because I just don't think no one's gonna let him go out of the top 10. Even if I trade to 10 with Philly, am I confident? Why would they trade up? They want Jalen Carter reportedly, so that kind of screws me over. So they just lost C.J. Gardner-Johnson. It wouldn't shock me if they took a chance on a corner.
Right.
So, yeah, I'm not confident in any quality corner being available at 12, let alone 18. And I'm going to have to move up from 18 if I make a decision that's not a corner. I think that's just the reality. And I think this team should draft a corner in the first round. I do.
So this is why it was hard for me because again you have so many options at 18. You could trade up. Again, it takes 2 to tango, but you can at least inquire to teams about trading up at 18. Maybe you can get one of those other corners, a Joey Porter Jr., Deonte Banks, whoever's there. If you're at 6 and in this situation, if all these players are gone, and I have Tyree Wilson, Christian Gonzalez, or Bijan Robinson, although I'm not mad at the Gonzalez pick, at least for me personally. Bijan, if you talk about best players available on your board, the best offensive player available is Bijan Robinson. That's the facts. And if he's there at 6, although the only pushback I would have is you're paying Bijan the 6th overall pick salary, But if you're talking just strictly value at that pick, because you brought up, I don't think there'll be a corner at 18. Again, if you're staying put at 6 and you take Christian Gonzalez, it makes sense on paper. But if you look back, and we just went through all those drafts of players that fell that probably shouldn't have fell, if Beydoun goes 3-4 picks after that 6th pick, let's say he goes 8 to the Atlanta Falcons, and you look back in a year or two, and Gonzalez is good. Gonzalez is solid. But then Beydoun is generational, or he's elite.
He's all pro.
He's elite, all pro.
Let's just say he's all pro.
Could I still make the case, looking back, saying you should have just taken the best player? You shouldn't have overthought about it.
No, because
you're still going to defend it.
They just don't win games for me. They don't.
But to have,
I need them to run the ball on 3rd and short and at the goal line, and that's about it. And establish the run on 1st down, so I can set up Jared Goff for play action. That's it. That's all I need to do.
Well, think about what kind of play action sets you'd be giving Jared with Bijan Robinson.
Yeah, but it's. I haven't seen a team win a Super Bowl because of a running back, arguably in my lifetime, since 1994. And you want to exclude probably the first 6 years of my life, because the hell, I don't even remember half of it anyways. So since the year 2000, who's won because of their running back?
Well, I wouldn't say.
I'm saying a majority. I'm not saying all because, but a majority. You have the Ravens, one because of their defense, not because of Trent Dilfer, not because of Jamal Williams.
And here's the
you have Terrell Davis. I guess you could argue Terrell Davis with the Broncos. That's the first one that comes to my head.
And I guess in
playoff runs.
In recent history, Brad Holmes, Jared, they had Todd Gurley that helped them get to a Super Bowl. Didn't win it, but he was a big reason why they got there.
Well, because he's injured, and it's a position that is often always injured. Delvin Cook is injured. Christian McCaffrey is injured. All these guys struggle with injuries. It's the least dependable position in football because of what we ask them to do. And when you tell me all-pro talent, that's great. He runs for 1,400 yards, catches another 300-400. It's great. What does that do for me? Zeke led the league in running for 2-3 years. How'd that work out? He was an all-pro talent.
They were still winning a ton of games.
Was Zeke not worthy of a top 4 pick?
That first 3 to 4 years, yeah.
And that could be Beydoun. And what does it do for you? Dallas didn't win shit. Never got even to an NFC championship.
There was more than just
that's the point.
Ezekiel Elliott.
I think the Lions need them more than just the running back.
And here's the other part to look at it, that Beydoun, I know people say you don't draft a running back at top 10, which I understand that, but Beydoun to me is a little bit different because he's not just a running back, he's an offensive weapon entirely. And now that you don't have J-Mo for 6 games, not saying that changes everything what you do in the draft, but you have to at least consider if you have a player like Beydoun, for that first 6 games, J-Mo, you can sit for 6 games. At least I'm bringing in a player that's so dynamic, a player that you can use in the pass game as well. Like, I think people are looking at Beydoun one-sided. Like, he's a running back. He's not just a running back. He's an entire offensive weapon. And if Ben Johnson can use him correctly, he would be even more dangerous. So that's why I have to at least consider it. Brad brought it up at his press conference. No one questioned us when we took Todd Gurley, when we were winning all those games, and Todd was uber productive. It's always a hindsight 2020. You look back, oh, well, that running back retired, or he was injured, so we shouldn't have taken him. But even Ezekiel Elliott, Beydoun is a higher rated prospect than Zeke Elliott because of what he can do in the pass game as well. So it's worth considering. I can accept it if you don't want to take Beydoun. And again, I'm not completely Beydoun or bust at 6. I'm not saying that at all. But to me, it's at least worth considering, especially now with not having J-Mo for 6 games. Not saying it changes everything, but having Beydoun would help. And it's the last year on Swift's deal. I'm not extending him, so at least you have to think about the future. And if you can get the by far best running back in this draft, it's worth it to me.
You're probably seeing it in the chat, all the talk about Barry Sanders and how he studies Barry Sanders, and Barry Sanders has come out on Twitter and made like a very clear statement about how he feels about him. Do you think this is being factored into this decision at all?
If it is, then everybody should be fired. I love Barry Sanders.
Barry comes
I don't
in,
give a fuck what he has to say.
Like, all right.
I'm sorry.
You heard him.
Just because Barry Sanders says draft Bijan Robinson doesn't mean you do it. It's one of the most irrelevant positions in football. And for good reason. Teams are winning by drafting Isaiah Pacheco in the 7th round. Doesn't matter that they drive Clyde Edwards-Helaire. You think the Chiefs will ever draft a running back in the 1st round ever again? Ever again? No chance. You think the Falcons aren't happy with Tyler Algier in the 5th round? Kenneth Walker in the 2nd round? Jonathan Taylor in the 2nd round? Look, Bijan Robinson's a hell of a talent. And I'm not saying he's not worthy of a top 10 pick. or a top 15 pick.
You just don't want him.
I just don't think for any team.
Because he'll go 8. I mean, he'll go top 10.
If I'm advising them, every team in the top 10, I pass. Is he gonna make my team significantly better, offensively or defensively? You could argue, well, you'll have a better run game. He's a passing threat. He brings a lot of dynamics to the game. Sure. What'd Christian McCaffrey do for Carolina? What'd Dalvin Cook do for Minnesota?
I mean, again, are those guys their only
What's more
job?
important, the quarterback or the running back?
Is the entire success win?
What's the more important?
No, of course, quarterback.
So if you're going to rebuild a team, you want to start there, right?
Yes, of course.
Okay, well, what's next on the list? Offensive lineman or running back?
No, you get to offensive lineman,
an edge
defensive
rusher
lineman.
or running back?
You go edge.
A wide receiver or a running back?
Wide receiver.
Secondary players or running back?
Secondary.
6th, maybe on the list.
But if you're talking about impact on winning, like to say that a running back has 0
when you're picking in the top 10
in terms of a Super Bowl, I understand that.
More often than not, you're rebuilding or you're not complete. The Lions have that pick because of the Matthew Stafford trade, but they were still a 1-6 team at one point last year.
Yeah,
and they were then an 8-2 team down the stretch. So we saw 2 really complete polar opposites. And I like to think they live somewhere in the middle of both of those things, and they'll be a lot better, especially with the way they upgraded their secondary.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're the best team in the North. But to take Beydoun as if that's the thing that'll get you over the hump, I just think is so irresponsible. I don't think any GM that truly has the confidence in their abilities or understands how to build a football team are going to sit there and say, I'm putting my job on the line by taking a running back in the top 10. I would rather you draft a quarterback and him not work out than you draft a running back that is going to play for 3-4 years. It is a disaster.
You'd rather draft a quarterback that is a bust.
Yes, because at least I'm attempting to change my franchise instead of just adding a good football player.
No, I disagree. I would rather take 5 years of a productive running back than a bust at quarterback. Because at least 5 years I get an elite production
and
from
how
my
does that
backfield.
impact winning? Because I don't see it impacting winning anywhere. Where?
I mean, even you
the
brought
Eagles
up,
just moved on from Miles Sanders. He's not even an elite running back. They could care less.
Yeah, Miles
Kansas City Chiefs moved on from Clyde Edwards-Helaire
you're bringing up mid.
for Isaiah Pacheco.
These guys are all mid.
Leonard Fournette.
Mid. I mean, elite in his early years, but right now, you're comparing, as in Beydoun will have the same career projection as Leonard Fournette, which, again, we don't know. But the point I'm making is this. Christian McCaffrey you brought up, and I'm glad you brought him up, because you look back, he was a top 10 pick.
Yep.
And you talk about Carolina all those years.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, he struggled to stay healthy after his first couple of years, but you can't look back and say he didn't help them win at all. Like, there was more problems with those teams than just Christian McCaffrey. Look at him on the 49ers. Look at the impact Christian McCaffrey had on the 49ers. Like, it's really
That's a team that has an all-pro at every other position, though. Is that the Lions?
The Lions are getting there.
They are not
they have
even
talent.
The Lions are not even remotely close to what the Niners
are. They adding guys that can be all-pro?
That can be. They're not, though.
But
the Niners did it when they have them. The Lions could be a team that they all just grow together, and that's all fairy tale nice scenario. But even then, running backs have the worst contracts in football. Not only if you draft Beydoun at 6 are you going to pay him a lot of money, but you're then going to have to back pay him for what he did for the first 3-4 years. And don't tell me that Brad Holmes won't pay him after 4 years, 5 years, because he will. Because they did it with Gurley, and they all do it with Zeke, and they do it with McCaffrey, and they do it with Dalvin Cook, and do it with all these guys. You pay the backs, especially if they were very good for you the first few years, and that just fucks you. And it's not a good draft pick. There's no value in it, especially for the Lions, who made Jamal Williams look like an all-pro running back while he was still averaging a measly 4 yards a carry. David Montgomery ranks up there with Nick Chubb in most yards after break I forget the stat. No, most break tackles a game. I think David Montgomery is more than enough of an upgrade for the Lions to go out and achieve all their goals. And I think what makes the Lions legitimate NFC and Super Bowl contenders is they turn around all-pro players on the defensive side of the ball. And now we're talking. You give me a top 15 defense this year, Lions win 12 games.
And if you give me one of the best run games in the league, what that could do for Jared, it would be substantial. It would be something that I'm intrigued by. Jamal Williams had a great year last year, statistically at the end of the year, but let's not act like he was productive game in and game out. Like there was a lot of games where they could not run the ball. If my memory serves correctly, I watched every single Lions game last year. You guys even know this. It wasn't consistent every game. Like they couldn't even this elite offensive line. They have an elite offensive line. What did that do for him in some games?
Okay. What do you
Swift
think of Dalvin
and Jamal.
Cook? What do you think of Dalvin Cook?
He's broke. He's not the same Dalvin he was years ago.
He's not the same Dalvin.
No, he's not.
But was he not an all-pro talent at running back?
He was, yes.
He was.
He was.
Last year was not a good year for him? He ran for 1,200
he was banged
yards.
Up. Yeah, he was banged up, but he was all right.
He ran for 1,200 yards. He played in every
yards.
game. He played in every game, though. He ran for 1,200 yards and 8 touchdowns. And he caught another, 300 yards receiving?
And
so
the Vikings,
1,600 all-purpose yards.
Yes, the Vikings won the NFC North.
They won the NFC North. You know how
go.
many times he ran for over 100 yards last year? Twice. You know how many times he went games without a touchdown? 7 times.
But you're
Or excuse me, you know how many times he went without a touchdown in a game? 10 times.
But you're comparing the offensive line for the Vikings to what the Lions have. Now imagine Dalvin Cook behind this offensive line for the Lions. What would he have?
Again.
And what would that production look like?
Again.
It'd be very
He's
different.
averaging 4.5 yards a carry in Minnesota. Let's say it's 4.7, 4.8 behind the Detroit Lions offensive line. You're still missing the point. This guy ran for 1,200 yards with 8 touchdowns, and in his final 6 games of the year, ran for 86, 23, 95, 60s, 27, and 37 yards. When they were winning games. And when they went on a 5-game win streak early on in the year, he ran for 77, 111, 47, 72, 42, 119. Like, I can't. I can't correlate the two. McCaffrey is the anomaly because he plays on an all-pro team. It's not even fair. So, yeah, it makes sense there. If the Lions had an all-pro at every position, draft Beydoun. Go for it.
What?
Try to win a Super Bowl. But they don't. You're going to tell me drafting a corner is a better solution than taking a chance on drafting a potential franchise quarterback or potentially landing a number 1 corner, which you're going to need?
Listen, all I'm comparing Christian McCaffrey to is, although I'm not making an argument that running back is the most important position when you're trying to win a Super Bowl, what I am saying is when you check a lot of other boxes on your roster, when you drop someone like Beydoun on your roster or Christian McCaffrey, yes, it makes you much more dangerous. I'm not saying understand the 49ers roster is very stacked. The Lions, they don't have the same roster as the 49ers. I'm not saying that, but they're adding talent. Every year they've been doing it. They've been collecting talent. And if you put Bijan Robinson right now on the Lions, it would make their offense specifically significantly better. I'm not saying he'd be the reason you win a Super Bowl, but your offense is much more dangerous. That's all I'm saying. And if you spent a whole segment talking about looking back at drafts,
that's fine.
Oh, Bijan, to me, one of the best players in this draft.
Okay, let's look back at the 2017 draft. Was Leonard Fournette not the bee's fucking knees coming out of that draft? Oh, everyone be honest. That was a top 10 surefire pick. He was going in the top 10. Coming out of LSU, the way he was stomping over SEC players, he was the can't miss. Is he a different type of player than Bijan? Yes. But can we at least agree right now? Leonard Fournette, prior to that draft, was a top 10 worthy pick based on everything you're telling me about Bijan, yes?
Yes.
Okay. Alvin Kamara went in the 3rd round.
Okay, again, you're telling teams at the time to just know that Alvin Kamara...
No. I'm not telling teams at the time. I'm telling you it happens every year. You can find running backs in the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th round. Some that are just good, some that reach the all-pro level like an Alvin Kamara. It's more often than not that they're just good. I'm not saying they're all going to be all-pros.
Right.
And maybe Bijan is all-pro. But I would rather have the good running back in the 3rd, 4th, 5th round than the all-pro running back in the 1st round. Especially at 6. Maybe you can convince me in the 20s. Maybe. Fine. Maybe. But to convince me on a running back at 6, I'd rather take a swing and miss on a quarterback.
That is
Why?
ridiculous.
Why? If I hit on a quarterback, you're set up for the next 10, 12 years.
If you by saying you take a quarterback, you would rather pay the 6th overall salary to a
sit
player
1 year.
that stinks. No, you said that wouldn't work out. They said a quarterback.
I said to take a chance, and if it didn't work, I'll live with it. I'd rather take that chance and it not work.
Anthony Richardson or Bijan Robinson at 6.
Oh, come on. You know I don't like Anthony Richardson. It's not fair. What a fucking asshole.
Okay.
JB, what do you think of all this? Be the mediator here.
It's kind of wild. I don't know if I would miss on a quarterback to miss that production, as Jeff said, on a running back those years. I don't think I can pass up on Bijan, if I'm being honest.
Because JB, if you're a GM, you're going off pure value, right? It's tough because I agree actually with most of what you're saying with running backs and how they're valued. To me, at least, Beydoun might be the exception. And he's going to go top 10 regardless. I think it's worth considering. Now, this is only, by the way, if you're just tuning in, this is in this specific scenario. So if Jalen Carter, Will Anderson, Bryce Young, CJ Stroud, and Witherspoon are all gone, I'm thinking about Beydoun. But I won't hate you if you take Gonzalez. But there you go. I don't think it's a bad thing. Can't believe you take a quarterback. That might
All right, let's take a breather.
I don't know.
I don't think either of you took a single breath in that entire segment.
Yeah, honestly, there was no breath.
Had to let it run, though.
You know what? I have a awesome
like I was
suggestion, though, before we go to break.
Yeah.
I have an awesome suggestion. Look, guys, I will not be doing the show as of Monday next week. So whoever wants to apply to be Jeff's co-host, since you're all geniuses, be my guest, Adham at woodwardsports.com. Feel free to send emails. You can text me at 31. Actually, I'm not doing that. We're not going to do that. Anyways, JB, thanks for nothing, jackass.
JV, my guy.
That was a good scenario, though. That's tricky.
So this is what we argued yesterday. Like what we just talked. This is what we talked about yesterday. Yeah,
I tuned in for maybe the first 15 minutes, and I had to hear Flannel Sam talk about the NBA, and I wanted to kill myself. So I chose to extend my life because I have a child on the way, and I want to see my child grow up and graduate and do all this cool stuff. So I chose not to put a gun in my head. So here we are. We'll take a break. When we get back, Jeff and I are going to release our top 10 big boards. We'll start with Jeff's first. But before we go, Gabby, our good friends over at, am I saying it right? Syntron. I mess this up every day, guys, by the way. I'm so proud of myself. I haven't gotten used to this yet.
Syntron is the official energy drink of the Detroit Red Wings. Right now, they have an exclusive offer for Woodward Sports listeners where you can get their Red Wing 6-pack for $15 plus free shipping. Try it out, see what your favorite flavor is, and then get on their subscription. Buy that 24-pack. I have a subscription coming to my house, getting that Syntron all the time. Head to drinksyntron.com/Woodward and try it today.
You don't have to go to the beach, man. You don't have to get your butt crack full of sand. You just need a little chili peppers, man, to get that glowing beach chili peppers tan.
Join the Pepper Club for all the best deals in town. Plus, they will beat all competitors by $5. ChiliPeppersTanning.com. Hottest bulbs, hottest deals, darkest tans. Your vitamin D headquarters.
You just need a little chili peppers, man.
We don't like to brag that we are the toughest sports network in Detroit, but we do have a guy named Darren McCarty on our side.
Lemieux and McCarty, who've had a good knockdown drag up. There they go, right on the whistle. They were talking to one another.
Woodward Sports.
Let me tell you about our friends over at Alta, because at Alta, uptime matters. Alta Equipment has everything you need to get the job done. If you have a big project coming up, Alta Rent has you covered. Call them today, 844-GO-TO-ALTA. That's 844-GO-TO-ALTA today.
All right, we're back here on the Morning Woodward Show live, woodwardsports.com. If you haven't already liked the video, make sure you do so. Make sure you're subscribed to our YouTube channel, as always. And if you're missing the show live, you can always go back after the fact, listen to the podcast, leave a 5-star review. Just search The Morning Woodward Show or search Woodward Sports. You'll find it on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts. We are back, and I want to go through Jeff's top 10 prospects.
Oh.
In the upcoming 2023 NFL Draft.
I
know there was a late change last night, and we didn't have time to change the graphic, so feel free to walk everybody through yours. I know you changed out 10, I believe, for Jackson Smith and Jimba.
Yeah.
So fair warning to everybody. Jeff's list has Jackson Smith at 10. But Jeff, walk me through your list. Make it make sense. Tell me why. Yes, no, good, bad.
Yeah, so let me go through this. And yes, Jackson Smith-Njigba, I put him at 10 over Paris Johnson because the more I thought about it, as a prospect, he's the number one wide receiver to me, deserves to be in there. But I'll go through him. These are my top 10 players. And I struggle with this because I didn't really know how to measure it. If you're looking at, how they tested, their production, I just went off personal. So this is my top 10 list personally on who I like in the draft. This isn't Lions related. This is all NFL. Jackson Smith-Njigba comes in at 10. It's not Paris Johnson. And then at 9, I got Christian Gonzalez. Again, not much to say about him. You could argue he's the best corner. I would put him 2, close second behind Devon Witherspoon. 8, Peter Skoronski. Again, he's probably going to end up playing guard in the NFL, but you talk about production, at least from, an offensive tackle. The last 2 seasons at Northwestern, the guy doesn't give up pressure. So there you go. And again, all the measurables, lineage in his family in the NFL. There's a lot there to like about Peter. 7, Devon Witherspoon. Again, you talk about Devon Witherspoon, had a great pro day, uber productive at Illinois. In man coverage, he's elite. I like Devon. He's a little grabby. I think that's one of the concerns you have for him, but still, I think translating to the NFL and man coverage, there you go. I think Devon Witherspoon will at least personally, translate better than Christian Gonzalez. 6, I got C.J. Stroud. And again, I want to go through, this is the reason I had these quarterbacks graded like this, because you probably look at it initially and you go, well, how do you have C.J. Stroud at 6 but Bryce Young at 3? A lot of this to me was just kind of based on who I like, who I don't like. For example, C.J. Stroud, I would put him as the number 2 quarterback in the draft, but if you go Tyree Wilson, Bijan, Bryce, Carter, and Anderson, those guys to me are just better prospects overall. Like the film, everything else I like at least better. Tyree Wilson, I think I took a lot of value in him just as a prospect, the measurables, the length, all that stuff, what he could be, the upside. I like him a lot. Although he's not my preference, he's still up there for me. You at least got to respect Tyree Wilson. Again, and then we get to Bijan Robinson. To me, besides Bryce Young, he's the best offensive prospect in this entire draft. If you want to put him ahead of Bryce, I wouldn't even be mad at that. But the reason why I put him there is because he deserves to be there. And then at 3, I have Bryce Young, best quarterback in the draft. Everything checks off but his height and weight. That's it. If he was 6'2", 200 pounds, he'd be the number 1 pick. No question. There wouldn't even be a debate. But he's 5'11 and a half, $195, and now there's actually a debate. So
can I ask you something?
Bryce, yeah, what's up?
You rate Bijan really high, right? Like,
of course.
Personally, forget your list here.
Yep.
Why wouldn't he be in your top 3? Number 1 is my first question. Second question, only 2 quarterbacks. Were there any quarterbacks that you thought of putting in the top 10 outside of Stroud and Young?
Yeah, I was going to put Anthony Richardson. Not that this is what I struggled with is I guess overall prospect grade, I guess measurable, like all that stuff. If I take into account, I think Anthony Richardson deserves to be a top 10 prospect. But then I changed it to just my top 10 players, and he ain't a top 10 player to me, so he's out of it. But I did think about Anthony just because of, again, the measurables, all that stuff. But I said screw all that. I'm just going off skill, who I think will translate, my best players. And Bryce Young, to me, he's a better overall player than Bijan. I had to separate some things, but yes, as a prospect, Bijan, you could argue the best in this draft, but I love Bryce, and I think he's by far the best quarterback. It's just his height and weight. The only 2 things you gotta criticize a little bit, but to me, I'm not pushing him down for that. He's 3.
My question for that is, what is your take on this argument that he's played with the same height and weight throughout college, and it really wasn't that much of a problem for him?
I think that there's truth to that. I mean, you're playing behind guys that are 6'6", 6'7", as offensive linemen. Like that's going to be the same thing at the next level. I just think the difference is probably the speed the NFL plays with. I mean, he's going to have to get used to that. I mean, even Kyler Murray won a Heisman in Oklahoma, but then when he got to the NFL, he hasn't really been the same player. He's been all right, but he hasn't been elite. Like, it's different in the NFL, and I think Bryce, IQ-wise, football IQ-wise, he's going to translate. He just has to stay healthy because he is a $195, 5'11". So, there's your problem. But other than that, these are grown men that are going to be going after Bryce Young. So he's just got to stay healthy. Talent's all there. And then at number 1 and 2, I think this is pretty consensus. Jalen Carter and Will Anderson. I mean, Will Anderson, do I have to really say anything? 207 pressures through his career at Alabama. I mean, that's it. There's not much to say. And then Jalen Carter, yeah, one of the highest graded PFF tackles in the draft. I mean, it's pretty clear what he did at Georgia. If you watched him, 2 national championships, one of the better players of the defense. It all started with Jalen Carter. So, yes, he's up there for me. But there's my top 10 list. Top 10 players. Again, it's not based off measurables and potential. This is just my top 10 players, period, in the draft.
I'm
and Jackson
so
Smith,
surprised you had 2 offensive linemen. I know Jackson Smith at the end came in.
Jackson Smith-Njigba is
Yeah,
10. So it wouldn't be Paris Johnson.
But still, I mean, he's probably going to be 11 or 10 for you, or 11 or 12, and then,
Yes.
Anthony Richardson 13, 14 on your list? God knows. But, yeah, look, I think I have questions. My biggest question here is the way you rate these guys. Let's say they were to go in this specific order, literally. It's just hypothetical here. The first 5 picks are the first 5 off the board.
Yep.
Right? We did this a little bit earlier, except with Tyree Wilson available. Who are you taking, Jeff? Is it Witherspoon?
If my first, you put up the list again.
Because based on yours,
Alex,
Anderson,
context.
Carter, Young, Robinson, Wilson are all gone. Based on your top 10 prospects.
Yeah.
So if you go BPA, that means you're drafting C.J. Stroud, correct?
Mm-hmm.
But are you not going to go BPA and you're going to draft a position that most people think you need?
I would take C.J. Stroud.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm all for C.J. Because, again, the argument you were making last segment over Beydoun was if he didn't work out. I think C.J. to me is he's the second best quarterback in the draft to me, and to a lot of people. I would take CJ at 6 if those players are gone. Alex, could you put up the draft board? I got to see it because I don't know off the top of my head. Yes, CJ Stroud, if he's there, 6. I'm taking CJ.
So and you're doing BPA, 100%.
Yes. Yes.
No questions asked.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, this is why, and this is not really meant towards Jeff, but this is why I talked about the 8:30 segment and what I talked about. Literally, look at the last 10 drafts. Literally, I would be willing to bet any amount of money that of those 10 players right now on that list, not because it's your list, but just in general, right? Most would agree on the top 5, let's say, right? National consensus.
Yep.
3 will work, if you're lucky. That's just the statistical average. 3 of these 10 players will work based on the last 10 years of drafting. And like Brad Holmes said, as Gabby loves to say, it's a case-by-case basis, right? So you can make that argument, and that's fine. I'm just presenting the data. Do as you wish with it. But according to the last 10 years of the NFL draft, only 3 of those guys are going to work. And then the other 7 that you would redraft are going to come from picks anywhere from 11 to 55.
Yeah.
And you're just going to kick yourself. And not the Lions. This could be any team.
Could be Emmanuel Forbes in the second round.
I'm just saying.
I'm still sticking with him. But yeah, those
when we
are...
do these big boards and, here we go, top 10 players, prospects, yippee! I get it. But man, that is not what the NFL is. And I just hope to God. And I believe it because I think Brad Holmes has earned the right that who he takes is the player that they have highest on their board. Not BPA to consensus, but BPA in the building. Who's our favorite player? How'd they check out? How did they test? Does the tape add up? Did the interview go well? And if all this is checking the box, but he's just not a projected top 10 pick, okay, 1, can we trade back? And if not, do we have the balls to draft a player higher than projected? That's the question. That's the question.
And that factors into it, too. Like, for my board specifically, yes, C.J. Stroud's the 6th player, but to your point, if Gonzalez nailed his interview, even though he's my, 8th best player, if I'm not mistaken, doesn't matter. Like, you take who you are most confident in. Although I have C.J. Stroud higher rated, you go with your gut, and I think Brad's going to do that. So, all this is just for top 10. Again, I moved a lot of guys around while making this list. Like, it's hard to have top 10 players. The top 5 are pretty, I think, consensus. But after that, it's all personal preference. Like, that's why I had Jackson Smith-Njigba at 10 instead of Paris Johnson. I moved that last minute. So, no one really knows. You're basing it off of faith in film.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
JB, what do you think of his list?
I mean, it's not bad. I got to give him credit for it. Beydoun is still probably a little too high for me, but still.
Where would you have Beydoun at?
Either 5 or 6. 5 or 6. Like, I'm not giving up on C.J. Stroud, even though he is falling. I just don't know where I would place him. Maybe 5, then Beydoun at 6. Tyree Wilson, I feel like we're just giving this kid the death penalty. Like, he's just dropping more and more, even though I think he will be a good talent in the NFL. Just not a perfect fit at the top of the list.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a decent board, though. Very decent board. Paris Johnson, don't know too much about the guy, but still.
Well, that would be Jackson Smith-Njigba. It should
okay,
be.
Yeah.
I didn't get to change it, but
yeah, it's nice. It's not a bad board.
Okay. I appreciate it, JB.
All right, JB, I got one more question before you before we go to break.
What's that?
You've been a Jalen Carter guy, right?
Yep.
And that's your guy from day one.
Day one.
You're not going to move off of it no matter what I tell you, right?
Smart man.
Nope.
Okay.
Oh boy. I don't know where this is going.
It's going. It's going to go, JB.
Oh boy.
So according to Jeff's board, Jalen Carter's the second best prospect coming out of this draft class. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, one or two. Like, you can go back and forth, honestly, between him and Will Anderson.
Wow, you really rate him. Holy shit. All right. Well, JB, I got a question for you today.
No.
My question is, Jalen Carter's on the board at 6, and Philadelphia swoops in with the 6th overall pick, the 10th overall pick, the 30th overall pick, and a future 2. Let's just say they give you a haul. You passing on your guy? Yes or no? And this isn't a right or wrong answer. I want to know what JB does. I call you. I'm Howie Roseman. Hey, Brad. 6:30 in the future, 2. I want Jalen Carter. What do you say?
If I'm there, I have to make the smart decision as a GM and for my franchise. I'm accepting that trade.
Wow. Really?
Yeah.
Man, I was hoping you'd have conviction.
And this is
as much as I love Jalen Carter, don't get me wrong, I think he would be a perfect fit here with the Lions, but as a smart GM, to better my franchise, to have more picks in the first round that I see a lot of prospect in these people and these players coming out, I have to take that trade. I just have to.
Well, thank you for being a responsible adult. I'm glad we made this exercise. I learned a lot about you, JB.
It's hard for me to even swallow that pill,
JB would be my designated driver on any given night. I trust you with my life now. Way to go, JB.
JB, the voice of reason.
So let's say you do that, JB, and you don't trade anymore. Okay? Let's say I give you 3 picks, 10, 18, and 30. What's JB's best case scenario?
Best case scenario?
Realistic, but best case.
Christian Gonzalez, Kalijah Cansey,
Jack Campbell,
Drew Sanders.
I like Drew Sanders more than Jack Campbell, to be honest.
Exactly.
You do too?
Oh yeah. Yeah, trade up in the second 2-3 picks if you have to.
If not Drew Sanders
pops off, man.
Give me Hendon Hooker at 30.
JB with the Hendon Hooker. See, this is why I asked JB the shit. Thank you for that. That was a very responsible, calculated move. You get a 5th-year option on a quarterback that you want to take a chance on. I can respect that. You take arguably the best corner in the draft, and you take consensusly, rated currently by national media, the 2nd best defensive tackle prospect. I think you did a hell of a job, JB. I may not agree with the players. I may not want Hendon Hooker. I may not even want Christian Gonzalez, even though I would definitely take him at 10. Doesn't matter what I think. I think that's a very responsible thing for you to do. Well done.
Appreciate it.
Well done. What did you think, Jeff?
I like it. I do, even though it's hard because in the same breath of, yes, I want the assets, I want to trade back, you have to, again, the contingency for me is if Brad has a group of players similarly graded. Like, at least to me, you'd have to really think about if the Eagles want Jalen Carter that bad, then he can't be such a bad player, correct? Like, clearly there's a reason why they want Jalen Carter, so you're going to have to think about that. Like, are you willing to drop down and give up the best, by far, defensive tackle in this draft when a position in need on the Lions is a defensive tackle? Anything to prevent 300 yards ran all over you like they did last year against the the Panthers. So you're going to have to think about it, but if Brad Holmes has Jalen Carter in a similar realm as Christian Gonzalez and some of these other players, I'm all for it. But if there's a significant drop-off, it's hard. Like, it's hard to just say, here's Jalen Carter, I'll take Christian Gonzalez. Like, that's hard. That's hard to do. So it just depends how he values certain players.
Well, if you guys don't mind, we have to go to break. But when we get back, I really, really want to have a conversation before we even get to the next board. And the conversation is, you know, you mentioned, oh, well, do you want to be the team that passes on this guy? Do you want to be this? Do you want to be that? You know, I brought up all the examples from 2012 to 2019, 2020 for a reason. The teams that passed were teams that their GMs are no longer there for a reason. I think there's a big difference between the Lions potentially passing on a player you really rate high compared to some of the GMs of the past. I like to think the world of Brad Holmes. I think he's done an excellent job so far. So I want to have that conversation next. But before we do, Jeff, our good friends over at Guardian Alarm.
Well, we'll talk about defenses. I'll tell you when you should draft 6 overall. It's Guardian Alarm. They got customized solutions from real experts. Their professional technicians take the time to recommend security and automation solutions specific to your needs. Call them anytime, day or night. Know that a Guardian team member will stay on the phone with you for as long as you need. Your safety and security deserves technology that's not only been proven to work, but by people who have been proven to care. Call 1-800-STAY-OUT for more information.
You've heard of Gordon Ramsay. You've heard of Bobby Flay. But Thursday night Master Chef Brad Holmes will be in the kitchen with all of the ingredients needed to make a great dish on draft night. Join Woodward Sports for our 3rd annual Woodward Sports Draft Party live at 5th Avenue in Royal Oak. The past 2 years, these parties have been standing room only, so get your tickets early at eventbrite.com. Don't miss out on all the fun with Braylon Edwards, Ryan Ermanni, Neil Rule, Darren McCarty, and the entire Woodward Sports crew. The party starts at 7:30 p.m. Don't miss the biggest draft party in the Motor City, brought to you by the biggest network, Woodward Sports.
Introducing the Planet Fitness Guide to getting that post-workout glow. Step 1. What's your why? More epic energy? Better sleep? Blow off steam? Step 2. Join Planet Fitness for just $10 a month and get moving in our clean and spacious clubs. Step 3. Bask in that post-workout glow. Join Planet Fitness today for just $10 a month.
Join today at any of the 50-plus Detroit area locations.
It's a great day to get some Centron in your life. Okay. There it is. Centron, here we go. Gotta grab the cranberry. Oh wait, it's 2 for $4. Gotta double up with the classic as well. Centron World, baby. Centron, available at select Krogers, and if you wanna know how, go to @CentronWorld.com. You get dope like me. You know what? Why wait? Great taste, guaranteed.
We are the network for Detroit by Detroiters. Welcome to the Woodward Sports Network.
Guys, you feeling super unmotivated, depressed, low sex drive, muscle loss, struggling to get rid of your belly fat? Well, my good friends Dr. Jason and his team at Custom Health Centers have an effective way to restore your vitality, and it's through their testosterone optimization therapy, which is a safe and effective way to get you feeling better than ever, confidence levels higher than ever, your performance at an all-time level, along with reducing heart disease. Visit CustomHealthCenters.com or give them a call. You see the number on the screen, 877-965-0910. That's 877-965-0910. We're back here on the Morning Woodward Show live, WoodwardSports.com. Adham, Beydoun, Jeff, Iafrate, and of course, our Detroit Lions beat reporter. To be. I mean, you are already, but, you know, we're getting there. How are you nervous at all? Before I even go on a tangent here, there has to be some nerves.
Okay, my thing with nerves is if you're not nervous, you don't care.
So you don't care?
No. Okay. I'm a bit nervous. But I think like good nerves, like excited.
Yeah.
Ready for this season.
Like ready for the challenge.
Ready for
wanting
the challenge.
to do an amazing job.
100%.
I can't wait. I think you're gonna crush it. I think you're gonna crush it. I can't wait.
Appreciate it.
All right, look. I'm gonna skip the prospect talk because I want to do Eric Woodyard at 9:40, and I want to have this conversation for 6 minutes, 7 minutes, because I think it matters. I showed you guys a list earlier at 8:30. I went through 2012 to 2020 draft. and I showed you the consensus top 5, top 10 picks at the time, and then if you were to redraft where they went, and they were all mid to late first-round picks, some seconds, some thirds, okay? And the point I want to circle back on is, does everybody trust Brad Holmes? I would say it's a consensus yes in the room. Fair?
Fair.
Good. The teams that made those mistakes and didn't draft players that they should have drafted or could have drafted, and they missed their opportunity to draft, are no longer the GMs for those exact reasons. I really struggle to imagine a scenario where even if I may not totally love the player, Brad Holmes selects somebody that is going to be a complete whiff this high in the draft. He didn't whiff on Panay. He didn't whiff on Aiden. I don't expect him to whiff on 6. Jameson Williams right now, it's not the best start to anybody's career. I think it's fair to be concerned. And not even just concerned, but more so just disappointed. Like, what the hell? We thought the world of you. We accepted you weren't going to be here for the first year. And now this. It's not ideal, not the best start. But I still think Jameson Williams is going to come back and hopefully ball out for the Lions. So yeah, I trust the GM. And I think that's the biggest X factor in whether we talk about Beydoun at 6, a quarterback, Tyree Wilson, Jalen Carter, character issues, trading back. What? I'm good. You know, last year was draft the cocaine, and it was excitement but stress because you could not afford to mess up the draft last year, and they didn't. Oh, and they landed an all-rookie safety in the 3rd round. Thank you, guys. Love you. Keep doing that, please. I'm not saying Brad Holmes is going to swing 100% in the 1st round. But so far, he's done a pretty damn good job with this first pick in each 1st round. I think he's going to be fine in this one, regardless of who the player is, whether it is a corner, whether it is a quarterback, whether it is a defensive tackle, whether it's the defensive tackle you want or somebody else may want. I'm good. I have a lot of confidence. If I'm the Bears and I'm picking at 6, I'm shitting myself. If I'm the Cardinals right now, I have a new GM. I don't know. I don't know how he is. He's new. I don't have any track record. GMs get fired every year. I think this GM is one of the 10 best in the NFL. NFL.com ranks him as the 7th best. So for all the draft talk and the speculation and the pessimism and the optimistic people in the room, for whatever it's going to be, you got the GM that's going to make the right choice, no? And if he doesn't, okay, not everybody makes the right choice. Now, depending on how flagrant it is, right? Like, drafting Jeff Okudah is fucking unacceptable and fireable offense. Drafting Jalen Carter and him not working out for off-the-field issues, people are going to question you. Like, you knew this. But if he doesn't work out, but you never hear a peep off the field, it's odd. It's a weird data point, right? And then you look at the last 10 years, you're like, all the guys that went in the top 5, 70% of them didn't work. That's not good. Well, it's good for you this year because you're picking 6, right? So imagine likely 3 teams are going to miss in the top 5, and hopefully somebody falls to you. Maybe that's the case. Or maybe somebody takes a player that people are pressuring you to take, so you can take your guy and nobody can say anything about it. Who knows? But that's where I'm at. I'm good with Brad Holmes.
You know what?
I don't really have any doubts. There are a few players that I'll probably freak out about, but even then, he's got a track record so far. I think they're good enough to win the North. I'm not going to sit here and lose my shit like last year.
And even in some drafts, too, you have players not exactly like Jalen Carter, but that have, off-the-field concerns going into the draft. Like even Laramie Tussle, all the stuff that happened with him, he was projected to be in the first top 6 picks. He fell to 13.
Yep.
So looking back, although teams would say, why didn't we take Laramie Tussle? A lot of it's like, hey, we stand by these check boxes that, again, if players don't check, you're I don't want to say you're willing to live with it, but you can rest easy. You can sleep at night knowing, although we passed on Laramie Tunsil, he just didn't check these boxes that we look for.
Yeah, I don't think that's fair, though, with the Laramie Tunsil example, because he's played on 2 different teams. He didn't last his first contract in Miami.
But he's still...
And he only really ever got really, really good when he went to Houston with Deshaun Watson and became an all-pro, or excuse me, a Pro Bowl tackle. So, like, Laramie Tunsil's a cute example, but it's not like a hyper successful example where he's an all-pro level tackle.
Well,
he's just a good tackle.
Well,
and
he just got paid. He's
but
better than good. He's not.
Well, he's good. He's very
really good. Yeah,
but he's not all-pro. Okay, and the point I'm making is 13 is actually where you should have taken him, because I think if he was the 6th overall pick or the 4th overall pick with 3 Pro Bowls in 7-8 years, you're not happy. You're not well. I don't want to say it's not a bust, but you're like, damn, a little disappointed, but not really. Like, it was a safe pick, good pick. It would have worked out, but I don't see Laramie Tunsil as an example of like, my goodness, you like missed out on a top 3, top 4 player from that draft class.
Yeah, the point again.
I get your point.
It's not Mike trying to compare the players directly, but even in that draft in 2016 where Laramie Tunsil fell, you had Sheldon Rankins go ahead of him. I mean, Eli Apple, Leonard Floyd, Jack Conklin, 2 tackles went ahead of him.
16
Ronnie
was
Stanley.
the one draft I had on my list that I didn't pick anybody to replace the top 6, top 7 guys, even Laramie Tunsil, because they were all like just either average, good, or some like pretty good.
All I'm talking about is projection versus where the player goes. He was projected top 6. He went 13. It happens.
Well, his was also unfortunate, wasn't it? The Bong thing.
Yeah, it's character
draft
concerns.
night, right?
Yeah.
What a disaster.
It is what it is. Now, not the same as Jalen Carter, but still, this happens. It happens.
All right, look, we got to take a break so we can get this show back on track. When we get back, Eric Woodyard releases who he believes the Lions will take 6th overall. We'll watch that video next coming out, and Jeff and I will react to it. But before we do, our good friends over at Swiss Insurance, bud.
Let me tell you about them. Swiss Insurance. Be sure to check with them this week for your commercial insurance review. Swiss can make sure you have the proper coverage. Give them a shot and you won't be disappointed. All you got to do is contact them, mark@swissins.com for more information.
Walk into any Lady Jane's Haircuts for Men for an award-winning haircut experience and automatically enter for your chance to win not 1, but 2 vehicles of your choice, courtesy of Les Stanford Buick GMC of Ferndale. That's right, 2 cars, 1 for you, 1 for your wife, your girlfriend, or your best bud. Lady Jane's Haircuts for Men, open 7 days a week. Walk in anytime, sign in, sit down, watch your favorite team play, and before you know it, your hair will be game ready. Let one of our talented, award-winning stylists make you look handsome and clean. Lady Jane's Haircuts for Men. It's wicked awesome.
Since the dawn of moving people, Chevrolet has led the way. The world of transportation is changing. At Feldman Chevrolet, we are leading the charge forward. With every electric vehicle, every mile traveled, one Feldman at a time. The company that puts more Chevys on Michigan roads is now the #1 name for Chevy electric vehicles.
At work and at home, we're there with smarter security solutions. Featuring complete automation with customized alerts and more. For over 90 years, we've been the company that's been counted on to protect what matters most, all with personalized service and care. Right now, for a limited time, receive a free video device plus free installation with a new home system. Guardian Alarm. We protect Michigan.
Woodward Avenue, the first paved road in America. Woodward Sports, the first sports network born in Detroit and made for Detroit.
Home of the $10 a month gym. Guys, there's no better time to join Planet Fitness. Your fitness is essential. The official studio sponsor of the Woodward Sports Network. Show them some love. Check them out any local Metro Detroit location or by visiting them at planetfitness.com. You can sign up either way. You'll thank me later. Get your life together. Stop being a bunch of lazy bums. All right, guys? Cool. Glad we got that out of the way. We're back here on the morning show. Live, woodwardsports.com as always. I want to throw it to Eric Woodyard, who released who he believes the Lions will take 6th overall in the upcoming draft. I can't wait to get both of your thoughts on this. Alex, when you can.
With the 6th pick, the Detroit Lions select Tyree Wilson of Texas Tech. The Lions are looking to upgrade their defense immediately, so why not add one of the most powerful pass rushers in the entire draft? And Wilson, they're getting a physically gifted guy with an 84.5-inch wingspan. He's looking to be a nightmare for quarterbacks in the NFL. Just last year, the Lions struggled on defense. In fact, number 2 pick Aiden Hutchinson was the most double-team edge rusher in the entire NFL. Yes, you heard that right, as a rookie. Wilson is looking to come in and help immediately and take some of the pressure off on the defensive side of the ball.
All right, Eric Woodyard on the Lions taking Tyree Wilson. Jeff, your initial thoughts?
And it's hard because I don't have the context. I don't know, who was there, who wasn't. But just judging off who he took, Tyree Wilson to me, that's a pick where I'm not going to sit here and pound the table and be upset, but I'm also not going to pound the table and be super excited. I think it's a fine pick. He's depending on who you talk to. Some have him high as 2, some have him 3rd. I wouldn't hate it. I wish I had the context, but I wouldn't sit here and be frustrated if they took Tyree Wilson. It is a position of need. He can play inside, outside. Again, adding to your defensive line is never a bad thing. So I don't hate it. I really don't. I just wish I knew who was there to critique it, but I don't off the top of my head. But JB, I don't mind Tyree Wilson at all.
JB, Tyree Wilson. Let's just act as if Jalen Carter's off the board so you guys don't have that conversation right now because I don't want to have it.
Yeah.
Tyree Wilson, is that a pick you're okay with? Does it make sense? Another edge rusher for the Lions.
I mean, it's an okay pick, and I'm okay with that happening, but I'm just okay with it happening. I think the harp about Tyree Wilson is like there's nothing flashy about him that attracts you to want to pick up this player. Like, he's just kind of seems like another guy, but he seems like a guy that is just all about business on the field. He's just not flashy enough that you want to have him on your team.
So let me run through, because this is from the 2023 mock draft. NFL Nation reporters making their first round picks, so you understand who's before this. This has the Panthers taking Bryce Young, Houston taking C.J. Stroud, Arizona taking Will Anderson Jr., Colts taking Anthony Richardson, Seattle taking Carter, and then the Lions taking Wilson.
Yeah, so Carter, Anderson, gone, boys.
And they don't trade back. I don't mind it. And they don't trade back to take maybe one of those corners.
That's one of those picks where I'm just,
yeah,
it better work. Honestly, I just look at that pick and I'm not wowed. I'm not excited. It doesn't do much for me. I think they need a defensive tackle. I think they need a corner, and I don't sit there at 6 to take an edge rusher. Unless it's Will Anderson. It's just what I think.
So you're all for corner at 6. You think one of these corners,
it's not that I'm
Witherspoon
for
or Gonzalez?
I'm not going to sit here and play dumb as if it's not a need, and it won't be a future need. And I'm not going to play dumb with the idea that if Brad Holmes, let's say these players are all gone and he's out on Tyree Wilson, for example, I don't think he's going to sit there at 6 and take a corner unless he believes there is one corner in the draft that is better than everybody else. Most people would say it's actually Christian Gonzalez, not Devon Witherspoon, but the odds makers have Witherspoon as the favorite right now for the Lions at 6. I'm not going to play the dumb game as if what's being reported isn't happening. But would I love a corner at 6? No. No, I think 6 is a tricky spot. And it's tough to always have a conversation about the 6th pick when you don't know who's going to be available. And you don't know what you can trade back for. And you don't know who's going to tango. And you really don't know what the hell the Raiders are ever going to do. The Raiders, knowing the Raiders, they might take Lucas Van Ness or Zay Flowers, for God's sake. You just don't know with the Raiders, ever. Atlanta, we like to think we know. The Bears, I hope to God they take an offensive lineman. That's good for Detroit. But, once you get to 10, 11, 12, up until 14, that's when players that you really like, and I'm sure the Lions really like, are really going to start going. And that's where you have to either make a move up from 18, or you consider trading back if the offer's good enough.
Yeah. And in this situation, no trade back. You're there at 6. I don't mind Tyree Wilson at all. I don't. Because you're taking, I think Tyree Wilson, and if you talk about position, most valuable positions.
If I could control the
Although
board,
you're right, DB is a need. You can argue that defensive line still is kind of a need.
If I were to control the board, like all these mock draft simulators, right, and I could have it go my way, who do you think is a better corner? I'll let you get some input on this. Christian Gonzalez or Devon Witherspoon? Would you be okay with me taking Christian Gonzalez at 6 if I told you I could get Kancey at 18?
Yeah.
Okay, would you be happy with me taking Witherspoon at 6 if it meant getting Canty at 18?
Yeah.
What if I told you took a corner at 6, but Canty was gone by 18, and you couldn't get him? Now what are you thinking?
I mean, if you can get one like a Lucas Van Ness, like an edge.
So it's going to be a defensive
I wouldn't
lineman.
hate it. Yeah, I want either one. We talked about this. I thought it would be the opposite. Defensive lineman at 6 and a corner. But still my philosophy. I would love a defensive lineman
I'm a Christian
in corner.
Gonzalez over Witherspoon guy. I know there's a chemistry with Kirby and Witherspoon. To me, the thing I struggle watching with Witherspoon is he's very handsy. And that is a no-go in the NFL. Gonzalez just has the length. He's got all the attributes that would make him a 1 in the NFL. Is he the most polished? No. Do I think any of these guys are Patrick Surtain day 1?
No.
No, but I think some of them are close enough to where I could get away with taking them. So, no, ideally I don't want a corner at 6, but I think that's just how the board's going to have to play out this year. Unless you're willing to reach, quote, reach on a guy that you believe in. Go for it. I would love to see it.
Because let's be real, if Jalen Carter gets drafted at 5 to Seattle, which I think he will, Eagles aren't calling you to trade up.
Probably not.
So you're staying put at 6. I don't see a scenario, unless maybe one of the quarterbacks, if they feel like they're a threat to be taken.
Can we agree 2 defensive players?
In the first round?
Yeah, like is a must. That's what I think.
I'm not going to say, because again, I'm open to a quarterback if he's there, but yes, for the most part.
Barring a quarterback.
Then yes, I think.
JB,
that's
2
probably
defensive players in the first round?
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that.
I think everyone's okay with that.
Because quarterback and then Beydoun if he's there at 18, which I don't think he will be, then yeah. Besides those exceptions, a quarterback
and remember,
or
guys,
Beydoun at 18.
And I don't want to make fun of people, but it's a really bad habit of mine, okay? There were fat people, skinny people. I'm not going to discriminate. Black, white, everybody. Telling me last year that passing on Aiden Hutchinson is the right move because it's a deep edge rusher class. Don't buy into that bullshit this year again. I hope you've learned anything from me in the year and a half I've been doing the show. Maybe you haven't. Maybe I'm a fucking idiot. But last I checked, I didn't tell you to take Malik Willis or Kyle Hamilton either. So I hope you guys listen very carefully.
Ain't me.
You know, my day will come where I'm completely wrong on a first-round pick, and I can't wait. I can't wait. And I'd love to learn why. But I think everybody's pretty happy with 2 first-round defensive players. That's what I think. I don't think anybody in Detroit's going to freak out. Who it is, I think we're always going to have a conversation about who, whether we like the player or not. But we'll get to mailbag. Missed you guys. I want to hear your questions. We'll get to that next. So drop your questions in the chat. And when we get back, we'll wrap up the show with mailbag. I think we have a break. No, we don't. Do we?
Yeah, we have a break because I have to tell everyone about Chili Peppers Tanning.
Thank you.
Because Chili Peppers Tanning is the cleanest salons in the D. There's 27 locations and more coming. You can find them literally anywhere around the Metro Detroit area. Shelby, Clinton Township. There's a couple right here within a mile of our studio on Woodward. And they have the best deals that you'll find around. They'll beat any competitors by $5. Hottest bulbs, hottest deals, darkest tans. Your vitamin D headquarters. Chili Peppers Tanning.
You've heard of Gordon Ramsay. You've heard of Bobby Flay. But Thursday night Master Chef Brad Holmes will be in the kitchen with all of the ingredients needed to make a great dish on draft night. Join Woodward Sports for our 3rd annual Woodward Sports Draft Party live at 5th Avenue in Royal Oak. The past 2 years, these parties have been standing room only, so get your tickets early at eventbrite.com. Don't miss out on all the fun with Braylon Edwards, Ryan Ermanni, Neil Rule, Darren McCarty, and the entire Woodward Sports crew. The party starts at 7:30 p.m. Don't miss the biggest draft party in the Motor City, brought to you by the biggest network, Woodward Sports.
By now you know me, Christina Gennari, as the obvious choice in real estate. And you know my website, soldchristina.com, as your #1 resource for buying or selling your home. Myself, along with my amazing staff, pride ourselves on making your home buying and selling experience a relaxing and easy one. Come see why we are the obvious choice. Christina Gennari at soldchristina.com, the obvious choice in real estate.
You have an opinion? Make sure it's seen and heard. Corner, jumper, tweet us, hop on the YouTube chat, slide in the DMS at Woodward Sports on all social media.
Strawberry Fest is back at Big Boy. You could try classic breakfast items like some strawberry hotcakes or mouth-watering red velvet waffles. But if you're not feeling breakfast, you could try the strawberry bacon chicken wrap or cool off with the refreshing summer splash salad. Don't forget to grab dessert, including their berry delicious classic strawberry pie, deep-fried vanilla Oreos, or strawberry hotcake, and more at Big Boy.
All right, Mailbag. Would you form some sort of package of 6 and 18 / a second rounder for something like the number 3 overall pick and DeAndre Hopkins? I'm out on DeAndre Hopkins. Absolutely not. Money doesn't make sense. I don't need his ass in town. You can send him to Buffalo. Detroit's. I'm hard pass on DeAndre Hopkins. I'm good. Don't want him. Don't want him at all. Don't want him at all. Jeff, do you think Adham will dice himself, or would he storm Allen Park if Brad Holmes did that Pro Football Talk mock draft? Which one is it? It was two corners?
2 DBs.
Who was it? Who'd they take? What? Gonzalez and Smith, or who? James, can you, or Jesse, can you tell us who?
I'll tell you right now.
Please.
So they had Witherspoon, and then at 18, they had Deontay Banks.
I don't like it.
Yeah, that is awful.
That's pretty. Grab the pitchforks and go stab somebody. I'm not happy about that. Mailbag, if you had to make a bet, Lions pick at 6 and 18, or Lions trade out of one of those slots. I'm going to go with the Lions. 100% are active and they move out. 100%. Whether it's up or back. I'm going to bet my money on Brad Holmes making a trade. 100%. 100%. What's your reaction, Adam, if the Lions get cancy, shave your head, smoke your lungs out both? Depends, right? So if they take him at 6, theoretically, I think there is going to be a massive, massive uproar within the fan base. And I would say 70 to 85% of this fan base is going to be very upset. I'm not going to sit here and throw it in your guys' face. I'm going to be happy because I like the player. Would I be more happy if somehow they found a way to get him at 18? Of course I would. Especially with the way all these mocks are playing out. If you're telling me he's going to be available at 18, I'll take him at 18. I'm not going to wait till take him at 6. I'll take someone else at 6. So, common sense there. If Carter and Anderson are taken before 6 and the QBs are there, we will have a ton of options to trade down. I would agree with that. Would you be opposed to trading pick 18 for a first next year? Depends with who, right? And if you're trading 18, you're probably looking at the Raiders. Falcons are a tricky one. You're looking at the Raiders. You're trying to trade with a bad team. You're trying to trade with a bad team to try and land a top 10 pick. It's the only way you make that move. That's a tough one. Tough to predict. Let's see. Jeff, we hold 9 picks. Do you think that's too many prospects to bring in, a.k.a. Holmes will be using assets to get his players? I hope so, right?
I think there'll be a draft day trade, draft night trade. I think Brad's going to trade either up in the second or maybe higher in the first round. He's going to do something. I can feel it. So he did this last year. You're right. There's a ton of picks, especially what they have, multiple seconds. I can see Brad making a move. I can. Go get a player he likes. I'd rather him do that.
Okay. I think let's go around the room. JB, I'll ask you this first. Not going to question anything Brad Holmes does in this NFL draft. Is that fair for you?
Yeah.
Is there any player where he takes and you're like, what the fuck?
Probably sit here and jump at a tight end very early.
No, I'll just say it. It's Will Levis or Anthony Richardson. If he takes them at 6.
Or a tight end in the first round.
Or a tight end in the first round.
I would the tight end part, I would just be disappointed. It's like, man, really?
Another one.
This again?
Yeah.
It's just not needed. You went 8-2 down the stretch after you traded Hawkinson. Oh, and may I remind you, your quarterback threw 18 touchdowns and 1 interception with those very same tight ends you have right now. I think he's fine. And I think 8 of those went to the tight ends anyways. Please, God, no to a tight end. I'll have a mental breakdown on Friday. I might need like 3 weeks off. If they take a tight end and Will Levis at 6, you might as well just put on my gravestone, he did his best. I can't do it anymore. That would be horrible. Levis and a tight end.
I
don't want to joke about suicide, but
I'm gonna be on,
that's where we're going here with me.
If that's the first round, you might not see me Friday.
You might not see me ever.
Yeah, I think that I don't have much to say.
I'd rather be on Epstein Island getting manhandled.
Oh, jeez. Okay.
Then the Lions take Levis and a tight end.
I can't imagine that's going to happen.
What, the Epstein part or the draft?
Both?
Either? Neither? I don't know.
Yeah, that.
But I can't imagine with what he said going into this draft that that's the way that it would go.
Oh,
He said
man.
it multiple times. His foot is on the gas. This draft is different. He knows what he's doing. I just can't imagine with how he's previously moved that scenario would pan out that way.
All right. Question for you, Gabby. Who wins the Natty first, Michigan or Florida State? First, not next year. First.
Michigan.
Yeah? It's nice of you. Look at you, being an honest gal this morning.
That hurts saying, I know it.
Like, my heart is, like, aching a little bit.
Oh, this is a very important question because, we support health and immunity and
Don't do
life
it.
support here.
Don't do it.
Mailbag from Joey. What health clinic does Jeff go to take care of his STDs after a weekend catching bodies? Jeff, you can answer that one.
No. There's No. Listen, Joey, I love you, but no. I don't need to go to no clinic.
Oh, my God.
Sickos.
Oh,
Jesus.
my God.
What clinic? Oh, my God.
Do we see any in-division trades this year? I'm going to go with no. I don't think the Vikings have any capital to make a move with the Lions. The Packers have too much capital, so they're not going to do business with the Lions. And the Bears won't. The Bears already traded back. God. All right. What if Carter and Anderson are gone? Brad trades down to 14 and 19 and gets a first rounder next year. If you're not comfortable at 6, the furthest I'm willing to trade back is with Philly. 12, maybe. But I am risking so much of the board. And that's where you and I differ. Is I don't mind taking a player that's ranked 13th or 19th or 24th overall at pick number 11, 12, or 9 or 8. I don't mind that, given it's my player. And I live with it. Instead of forcing myself to take Devin Witherspoon at 6, or somebody I maybe don't want to take or I don't fully buy into just because he's valued there. And that's why we did the lesson earlier.
Look at this before we leave. Steve says, Jeff cannot have an STD if you don't get tested. # facts. Okay, Steve.
Jeff,
that is a messed up mindset.
You gotta get your life together, bro.
The man just said I can't have an STD if I don't get tested. Wow.
I think your next contract, we're gonna put in like not allowed to drink on weekends.
What?
Not
I don't
allowed
even
to
drink like that. I don't. This is all false narratives.
It's not.
It's false.
You couldn't
narratives.
even handle 2 Bud Lights at the draft party last year.
I guess we'll see
I
tomorrow.
didn't even drink last year at the
I guess
damn
we'll see
draft
tomorrow.
party.
You might have to like make a tally here.
This is false news.
Come back on Friday with some clear numbers to share with the people.
I'm gonna be in the production booth, so I'm gonna be drinking my ass off. So when the Lions take a player and I throw some second rounders highlights up on the screen, I'm sorry.
Yeah, but this man said I got drunk last year off Bud Light.
Yeah, you did. Two Bud Lights and you were out.
Bud Light.
You were out after 2 Bud Lights. That's how weak it is. All right, anyways.
Come see for yourself tomorrow.
Come see for yourself
At the draft
tomorrow. If
party.
you want to dress up as a guy or a girl, be my guest. I don't care what you look like. Come hang out. $10. Go to eventbrite.com. Search Woodward Sports or the NFL Draft Party. You'll find us. We'll see you tomorrow for the show. We'll do our whole first round live mock draft. We'll take callers, get your guys' final opinions on who you want, who you think the Lions will take. It's going to be a fun show. Oh my God, I'm nervous. Tomorrow is the day. Fuck my life. See you guys tomorrow.